I'm starting the live from the walk-in into Speaker's Corner. So, welcome. You're just joining. Yesterday was a long day at the Freedom Rally. Talk a little bit about that. Just want to thank someone that sent me 5 coffees yesterday, which I really appreciate. The support is very much needed, and also a sign that people want me to continue doing this. I recommend going back and watching the live clips that I put together. Sorry, they weren't live, but they were, because the bandwidth was restricted in Trafalgar Square. I couldn't hold a live, but to be honest, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, it was a little bit boring listening to entry-level, first-grade truthers wanting freedom, but still honouring the people who live here on this wall. That's Buckingham Palace. It's all a little bit distasteful. Not distasteful, but just hard to watch. Hard to watch. And as I said, it got a little bit boring. So I'm going to quickly jog again. Can I just check my audio with you, because yesterday I got people saying I was coming through rather muffled. Now, I've got a mic on this phone holder that I'm using. The mic, typically I face it away from me, so to be able to hear the speaker or someone who's asking questions a little bit better. But I will turn it around if need be, or as Andrew says, maybe the mic itself is not working so well anymore. So if you give me a little audio check there. Oh, the bus is not stopping. Lady irate. The number 148. A lot of these buses have been turned into electric buses, and I was just reading in the light paper on my way in on the train that 3 emissions of planes in very quick succession within a matter of days of each other. If you haven't found the light paper, you can always subscribe to it. In England anyway. Started by a flat earther called Darren Nesbitt. And I see it in a lot of places. People basically buy a number of copies, 20 copies, 50 copies, 100, and then they give them out for free at local events or in their town centre or whatever. And they go quite deep, although Darren has not set it up as a flat earther kind of paper, which I don't understand, because, well, as you'll see from my clips yesterday, the majority of people, many people know that things are all wrong here. But don't try and tell them that the earth is flat. I received a little abuse yesterday. Some of my chalking got spattered with water or something. And see lots of same. I filmed a bit of this yesterday. Some of it I haven't put up. Some of it I'll look to make available on Patreon, because I really do need to be a bit more proactive in generating some income. I'm not joking when I say that I bought a train ticket today with my last 20 bucks. So if you're in a position to make a contribution, feel you want to do something like that, there will be links coming up in the chat for the Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, PayPal. People in the UK could also get my bank detail, my bank account direct. Anyway, how's the audio? Mic check, thanks. 4.5, 4 out of 5, okay. Well look, I can talk louder. I'm not, I'm walking in public, and don't want to make too much noise. You wanna write on? Yeah, the talking was really quite successful yesterday. More than my banner. Well, I did hang my banner over the balustrade in front, at the back of the group. Oh, sorry about the noise. At the back of the group. Yesterday, and so some people saw it, but not that many, I'd say. I heard a guy say, a lot of people haven't heard this, so it's a long conversation to go from never having heard about it to, oh, okay, there's something here. I'll tell you an interesting conversation I had with a chap I think called Greg yesterday. I put some of it up on this clip video. The video is only 15 minutes long. Only 15 minutes long. But I had a much longer conversation with him and a Ghanaian chap who gave me some interesting health insight from Ghana, which he says you will always crush the big C by using crushed ginger or raw ginger if you're taking it orally. But he even went as far as saying, you can apply it because men get a lot of prostate cancer. He said, not in our country, because we apply some cream and we crush the ginger up and we insert it rectally, and it stings for a while. You've got to keep it in there for like an hour and a half, he said. So that was interesting. But this conversation I had with this guy, Greg, I believe, he'd seen me chalk Earth is flat, bottom of the stairs, and he comes down and starts rubbing out Earth with his foot, and I sort of call him out, and he's a bit angry. This is demeaning the kind of the giant woke truth community message. Media are going to pick up on this, and then they'll say we're all sort of crazy conspiracy theorists. And as I said to him, well, I bet there's family you have who don't use your indicator. No indication needed. Anyway, apparently the stars are aligned for a little bit of a testy day. So it my first testiness. So he's initially quite angry, and then by the end of the conversation, we were shaking hands, and he was committing to subbing. And more importantly, that's out of the way. And more importantly, was willing to think. No, I wasn't convincing him, but I gave him enough food for thought to go, you know what, I'm going to look at this again. Because, like most people, he's heard the term flat earth, punched it into his search engine, and come up with a whole host of twats. Really fairly simple people, but who have jumped on the bandwagon. Talk about drifting. Jumped on the bandwagon and found themselves with a, let's get across here before the bend takes me out. Come up with a whole lot of ridiculous rebuttals. Some of them, they don't obviously agree with each other on all things, but they come up with these rebuttal channels. And that's all that these people get. That's all they get. I'm going to wait here a moment, so might as well lay it down. I like this colour. So not marble arch, but some so arches, I think, 1800s apparently. Hyde Park. Is that Earth is flat. This chalk does leave rather strong stains on the finger, so it's actually, truthfully, it's part of Zizi's chalk collection. I already bought him 60 big chalks for his birthday, and he does so much math and a variety of other things with his large chalk. He writes much more on chalk, by chalk, than he does on paper at this stage, and that doesn't bother me at all. The fact that he's writing, the fact that he's doing sums, division, multiplication, subtractions, square rooting, cube rooting, you name it, so many things that he's doing mathematically. But he does it with the big chalk. Anyway, so I'd had to borrow some of his chalk. Now, so you walk that way down to the Serpentine, which is the lake level down there. But we're going to walk through this arcade of trees. which there was a race for life today. I would have been here half an hour earlier, but I missed the train. Due to there not being any parking at the station I headed for. So if you've not done this walk with me before, welcome. Obviously we're into Speaker's Corner for a few hours and you can see a lot of globe stuff coming out. So, put a bit more chalk down here on the walkway. There's no concerts on at the moment here. That's normally good for business. Lots of concert goers going by. With the buy me a coffee thing, you have to have at least £20 in the account in order to make a withdrawal, and then when you do, it takes a few working days to release the funds. So I'm grateful for that kind round of coffees yesterday. Someone called "What in the world is going on?" or something like that. I do appreciate it. We'll be using it for groceries on Tuesday or whenever it's free, at least. Hey Francois, how are you doing, bro? And how's your granddaughter doing? Well, your youngest, newest granddaughter. Family are well and all that and all that. And your boat. It's a funny old thing being juxtaposed between this world and what we may really be. I spoke to an engineer yesterday. It wasn't on camera. I was going out around, at one point I was just leafleting people for a little while, and I gave this guy, he was quite affable and friendly when I gave him the flyer, and then when he understood what the content was, the temperature changed. I'm an engineer, and just thermodynamics demands it must be in space. No, thermodynamics demands we must be enclosed to have this air pressure. Oh, it didn't go very well. I said, well, I'll leave it there, and you probably don't want my flyer, so I took it off him. So. Anyway, I hope you're well, and Francois and everyone else, of course. Yeah, it's going to be a scorcher, actually. Well, for us anyway, 28 degrees is, I think, the temperature. I'm actually wearing shoes, so I should be barefoot. It was my way, certainly, back in the day. I don't know if you saw my walkout of Trafalgar Square yesterday. It was once I walked away from Trafalgar, I was able to get enough signal strength to run alive. So I walked out through St. James's Park, which I'd previously chalked on the way in, and down Victoria Street. Before I got to Victoria Street, I came past this sort of deli cake shop, and the lady in the window was busy sorting out her goodies, things that she could keep for tomorrow or today, and stuff she had to get rid of. That included, she offered me a sandwich. Actually, she gave me both sandwiches. They were large, kind of healthy-looking sandwiches, which I thought, I only need one, but I'll take them, and maybe I can do something else with the other one. I hadn't eaten since the morning, and we were talking about 7 p.m. by this point. So I was starting to feel the appetite return, and so she, but before I could even get to eating them, I came across this homeless lady by the name of Rebecca, who her friend looked like they needed the food more than I did. So I gave away my sandwiches. I guess I was always meant to. That's good.
2 years.
So I got the banner and a few hundred flyers with me today. And I was quite optimistic, over-optimistic yesterday, thinking, gee, I'm just going to give out hundreds of flyers today. And it didn't work out that way, but say la vie. I'm sure hundreds of people saw my talking. From the moment I would put it down, people would start commenting, and people would take photos, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I've been here before, I think maybe last year, when there was one of these runs, fun runs on, and it's nice to be able to hit the runners on their way through with some thought-provoking comments. And the issue of people, which was at yesterday's protest, which, by the way, I was thinking this morning, like, what did they actually achieve yesterday? You know, obviously there was tens of thousands or 20,000 maybe people, maybe a little bit more, all gathered together or chanting Tommy Robinson and God Save the Queen. And cheering the military. Now, obviously, as ex-military myself, I know that the military has a purpose in the event that some ne'er-do-well tin pot nation decides to take action against you. But it's so very likely that all of these actions are controlled by the same. I love this sign. I'm going to have to chalk it. You see the sign? Oh, this is a CRUK. Say it. Think about the treatment they do. So Let's say that in the statement. Yeah. I'm going to read it. Water levels on flat Earth. Yeah, so I have, I'm hoping to have Dave Murphy, allegedly, along with, well, not along with me, but planning to come along one Sunday in August. So, you know, we might even, if we can put enough advance notice in, you know, the opportunity for people to come and have a mini hangout. He seems to draw a bit of a crowd. Maybe next Sunday. I'm weather permitting, I'm definitely coming next Sunday. Weather and finances. The train journey was 12:50 this morning, and putting food on the table is more important than paying National Rail. Just getting out here is...
They could have an anaphylactic shock, or as Ed is, celiac.
So much dis-ease in the world.
Years ago. Yeah.
Oh, my dis-ease. Serious, bit of minor dehydration yesterday. Actually, it's been in the sun all day.
I know, I'm really hungry. I'm gonna waste it.
It was an 11-hour outing, all told, door to door. So a lot of that was in the sun. I kind of felt it on the way home. We're almost there. Thanks for hanging in here. Beautiful, you'll send me a picture. That's lovely. I'm glad to hear it, Francois. With chalk, it forces you to remember. Yeah, because it's a written word, eh? So, probably put it here. I'd like to put some here. By the time people reach me, they're pissed off. I misspelled research yesterday, embarrassingly. Too much on the mind, I guess. Yeah, I wanted to be here a little bit earlier just to get a decent position on the poles. You know, some of what I heard yesterday at the Freedom Rally sort of makes sense. There are real problems, there are structural issues, there are social issues. But it's understanding where those issues really stem from. Again, it's like trying to treat a wound by merely replacing the scab and not digging out the the agitator, which is a thorn or something. So here, if you haven't done Speaker's Corner with me before, you're going to see a lot of religious dogma, one side versus another. I should talk here because people walk through this way.
Yeah, I want to be able to like.
American dudes are doing none of this. There we go. Yeah, put water there. It's Disney. Look both ways. And you railroaded into one side. Well, you gotta make these choices for yourself.
Listen, Mamio must be a lot more smartio than Yuio. Yes, because you believe you came from a lizard. Go slither away.
Go slither away.
No, Daddy-o,
Should we go for a break?
Mamio, smartio.
Oh, he's talking to you now.
Now you can leave. Now you can leave. You are welcome. I've taught him all I could because he desires to stay stupido. Alright, Mommy-o, Daddy-o, Daughter-o, I don't carry-o. Listen, I want to let the truth
Attacking a journalist.
That's why they're walking away.
He promoted their address of the journalist. So Tommy Robinson is all for docking people, all for prompting out their people's addresses.
He was an Antifa member. Just like you. He was Antifa.
My name's Dust. I jump in and can be a hypocrite and admit it. I'm not ashamed.
And you got no shoes on as well.
He's got no shoes on. He's got no shoes on.
So,
Meanwhile, he's promoting killing Jewish people.
so tell me something. If
So, yeah.
Tommy gets in prison later this week,
I would be sending him money for his canteen.
No, they'll have him on basic. They'll have him on basic. He'll get about £2.50 no tobacco.
They better keep the water.
Right? Is that your daughter?
No, I'm her cousin.
That's not my fault. Now listen.
my glass.
Okay. See, just there, you hear a little bit about Tommy Robinson. There's so much like emotion there. So we're going to set up here I'm going to set up here. So like this would be a good spot. See if I can see the moon still. I think we're into the last quarter. I saw it earlier today, but it's maybe a little bit late now. Anyway. let's get set up here. We are early. It's going to get busier. Mark my words.
Oh, you can talk all you want, but God's not going to hear you unless you go through his son, Jesus Christ.
Heading out of Brighton.
Jesus said,
Good man.
mediator between God
Pretty neat.
and man.
Bit of chalk and walk and chalk. And you leave little truth bombs behind you. That some will get washed away very quickly. Others can stay there for days, weather permitting. I'm always remembering the one time I put some chalk on a wall in Frome. Frome, as the locals call it. And my goodness, was that still there 2 months later when I drove through the town on a wall, both is flat. So, bear with me while I put up the banner. It was first time here at Speakers. This is it. Oopsie. I want to put it, you see, because I've previously put it this side, and I feel like a lot of people are sort of there in that space. So people coming through here will be able to see it. So I'm going to put it here. I've used in the center of the heart a Sanskrit symbol for what is it for? I've forgotten it. Andrew will have to remind me. But it's Sanskrit, and although obviously it's got the 6-pointed star, which we all associate with a certain, shall we say, rogue state, one of the key players in whatever the world is, it doesn't mean those people themselves are not as brainwashed as the majority of us. No, not at all. But it does mean that they are just like these people with their angry rhetoric. Just doing what they're honestly as good people. They've probably got children and families and blah blah blah. Wow. I'll tell you what, I think we're in for an interesting day here. So I do thank you for your support. If you are watching and haven't hit the like, the thumbs up or whatever, I'd encourage you to do that if you don't mind. And also share, because apparently sharing the video while it's live will mean more people see it. And I am not wanting to be a moaner, but I know that I'm being shadow banned here on YouTube. So we know that the truths must come out, or rather that we're just, and this is what I see that from the rally yesterday, is that good people are having their kind of desire for things to be better controlled and steered in a very narrow band of truth. And so I think we must more often in Brighton and others So to do a little bit of chalking. Let's see, I've got some purple here. Let's go with that. Because the chalking, you know, obviously a lot of people walk with their heads down, but the chalking does get people talking. And let's go big or go home. That banner's cool, but I somehow wish it was twice the size. You know, I made it with the idea that I'd be able to hang it places like this without it being too long, too deep. The company I've used to make it, I think the fabric is quite thin, so the sunlight comes through it quite easily, which reduces the impact. I remember you.
What does the Quran say?
Yeah. Want to chat? I won't film you while I'm talking. We've had conversations before. Now. All right, one sec. This is quite big now. But yeah, I was really earlier, I kind of interrupted my thought, but I think that they're sort of, although you know they're quite inclusive, I think they're fairly inclusive. To be fair, it's not like I wouldn't call them racist at all. Well, not at all, but that freedom thing. But you know, we do have elements on either side becoming more and more, if you like, radicalized by. There's a big deer. I saw one get shot the other day. Well, on TV, like Hollywood. Wow, that's one brick of chalk already. Just on Earth. I'm gonna have to go. Yeah.
How are you, brother? Coming to watch you, you don't mind?
Cool, man.
Yeah. Usually you do some drawing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Earth is a mother.
Earth is the
is
mother.
life.
Is the yeah?
Earth is...
Maybe Earth is living.
Yeah, we connect to it.
Yes, we are with it. We are in it.
We're not respecting it enough.
No, ourselves and our Mother Earth. Yes.
Earth is feeding us.
Yes.
Earth is the thirst for us.
Yes.
Earth is bury our shame.
Uh-huh.
Die, you get to the ground, will be very smelly. Earth, everything. I don't know the police if they allow you.
Yeah. Yep. Yesterday in Trafalgar Square, I got away with a lot of it. And normally, yeah, no problem here.
Anyway, you can do some drawing.
Maybe in a little while, yeah.
Yeah, I like your drawing. You're an artist.
Maybe you got me confused with someone else.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
One white guy like you, he does drawing all the time.
Oh, yeah, I'm not really an artist in that way.
So what's your hobby?
My hobby? Hobbies
Are
I
you
like-
Welsh?
No.
Where?
English, South African.
South Africa. Nice to meet you. What's your hobby?
My hobby is scuba diving.
Scuba diving.
Yeah.
I heard that. Scuba diving. Scuba diving.
Scuba diving, yeah.
Where is that?
Where you
Oh
put a
yeah.
tank.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Red Sea.
La plongerie. You been to
Yeah.
Sharm el-Sheikh?
Yeah, Sharm el-Sheikh,
Yeah,
yeah.
done. You see how deep blue?
Yeah, it's beautiful there. And the wrecks and that, it's all very beautiful.
You been to the Canary Island?
No, I
You
haven't
should
gone
go.
enough. Yeah.
Been to La Villeguia. Villiguia is on the border between Spain and Portugal. You go Mediterranean and Pacific. You been to Casablanca, that's the Pacific.
Okay.
It's not Mediterranean.
Okay, yeah.
And they meet. So go there.
All right.
A lot of current.
All right.
Earth is flat.
That is not a ball.
Earth is flat.
The sea is level, right? And when you go diving, you go through strata, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters. Everything is level. Like this water, the sea is level. Maybe tides and swell, but otherwise it's level. See, when you go from one side of England to the other side of England, you go up from sea level to 300 meters.
English Channel.
And then you come down the other side. And across the English Channel, we can see France.
Greenwich line,
Yeah, we can see France. But if we lived on a globe, we should not be able to see
I'm afraid my vision a little bit further. I'm gonna fly me and you right now.
Yeah.
Up, 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 up. How will we see this Earth?
It's flat.
How will we see it?
Well,
not exaggerate.
How high?
We will see it like a dot.
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay.
We'll see it like a dot.
On a piece of paper.
Now, me and you, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
We're gonna fly, missile, something miracle take us up.
How high?
Very high.
Because man has never been more than 100
okay, 1
miles.
minute. Are you gonna go further down? I'm not gonna use binoculars. I'm gonna see you tiny.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why? The
Because I'm so small, far away.
distance.
Yes.
Same things.
Yes.
Right?
As things we go up, or as we go away from something, it
That's
gets
my
small.
That's my important.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't care if it's flat or round. That's my important. Far away distance a dot. So it's a miracle things happening. Whether flat.
No, you see, the idea that there's a vacuum of space and we can travel thousands or millions
you
of miles
very
up,
much.
we can't do that, bro. We can only go 100 miles. NASA fakes space. It's all cartoon. You know, when they're doing a spacewalk, they're actually doing it in a swimming pool. We can prove this because we've seen the reflection of divers. We've seen bubbles leaving their helmets. We've seen things that are floating around like they're in water.
All right.
It's all done in a swimming pool. They train there and they use the same spacesuit in the swimming pool as they do in the vacuum of space.
You're going political now.
However, they've never taken a spacesuit into a vacuum chamber.
You're going political now. What I want you to carry in this because I love what you're doing. And your patriotism, I back it out. Brother, you are my brother.
Oh, brother.
Bless you.
Bless you, man. Okay. Shalom alaikum. Hi.
How are you?
Hi. Good, how are you?
I just wanted to ask you what makes you think that.
Well, because the water that we see around us is level, and we can't measure any curvature over that water. So what makes you think it's a globe?
I don't necessarily think it's a globe.
Okay, because we've all been programmed to believe it's a globe from when we were 6 years old.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do know.
Now, I was believing that for 47 years. And then I came across the formula for the curvature of a globe, the size they say it is. And they say that after 10 miles, there should be 800 inches of curvature.
Yeah.
Well, we can see 10 miles on a clear day. We can see 20 miles with a powerful camera.
Yeah.
And we can see things, the shoreline, we can see people at 20 miles away. And they say that by then, you should be looking at tens of feet, or tens of meters of lost curvature, according to the globe. But what they teach you when you're small is that the ship, when you're standing on the beach, goes away, gets smaller, and it disappears whole from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Well, we can do the same experiment with your friend and you, where we put the camera right on the ground here, and you walk away along a perfectly level, known level piece of ground, and you'll find that his ankles disappear first.
What about satellite pictures?
Satellite
I know
pictures
it's a very,
so they're all given to us by the government, and all of them are admitted to be CGI, computer-generated images. All of them. There's not one that they can say, this is a guy with a camera who took this photo. Other than stuff that's taken from high-level drones, maybe 40 miles, 30 miles, they can get up there with a helium balloon or whatever, and they can take a picture down. And then they say, that's us from space. No, it's not. They're just taking high-level, like Google Earth.
But why does it appear like a globe if you do this?
How does it appear like?
If you go with a drone 40, 50 miles up, it does give a little shape of
Okay, so it depends on the camera. If they use a wide-angle lens, then as you go off the horizontal, it bends the horizon like this. So the horizon can bend this way, it can bend that way. Now flat earthers have taken helium balloons to 120,000 feet, with using a regular camera, and as far as they go up high, all they see is level. Other people have now taken infrared cameras and they've gone up in a plane with the infrared, and they can cut through the clouds and the moisture with infrared and see across America to the Rocky Mountains, over 1,000 miles. And they can prove this is.
I want to ask you about day and night because that's more explainable. But what about the northern, southern hemisphere?
Yeah, the best example.
The change of seasons.
Okay, so two questions then. One is day and night. The other is seasons.
I'm not really asking about day and night. It could be like there's so many. Mainly.
Okay, because the sunlight is local to us, so it's only maybe tens of miles high. It's not hundreds of miles.
You believe in the firmament, right?
Firmament. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about the seasons. So imagine we had a football pitch, and the center of the football pitch, the midpoint, was the equator. Okay. The goalkeeper on one side is the south
hemisphere
and the southern hemisphere, and the goalkeeper on the other side. So every day the sun comes in the equinox. The sun comes over the center point of the field, and as the winter progresses,
at 12 p.m.
At 12 p.m. But it's directly overhead for people on the equator, or on the center point of the football pitch. But tomorrow it's going to start moving towards the left as it moves away from the south and moves towards the north. And every day it moves a little bit closer to the north until it gets to the end of the Capricorn.
Do you think we rotate?
No. What makes you think we rotate?
Clouds moving.
The clouds moving?
Yeah.
But say there's days when the clouds are not moving.
Yeah.
Well, what are they? We not rotate them?
No, we do. But like right now, it's not rotating. By the way, I'm not actually enforcing a point.
Okay. So the thing about clouds moving is clouds can move in every direction. They're not restricted to only moving against the spin of the Earth.
And they are just water vapor.
They're water vapor, but also they're affected by local wind directions. They're affected by pressure, low and high pressure systems that are in the area. They can move things in one direction. You can even see clouds moving in one direction, and then higher up, cirrus clouds moving in the opposite direction. So there's nothing that shows that we are moving. In fact, even Einstein said there's no experiment we will do that proves that Earth is spinning.
I know about this.
And that in the 1800s, the astronomer royal, a guy called George Airy, came up with an experiment which famously became known as Airy's failure, where he put water in a telescope and said, one way it will prove that the stars are moving, other way it will prove that the Earth is moving. It proved that the stars were moving, so they buried that. Later on, 20, 30 years later, they came up with interferometer experiments, and they did these for 30 years, the best scientists, and they couldn't prove that the Earth was spinning. So we don't know who's spinning. When I asked the European Space Agency staff a few years ago, I met some of them, and I said, what do you say is the proof that
a lot of people say, a lot of people who actually do a lot more do think it's flat.
Earth is flat, I know commercial airline pilots who
I had times where I was like genuinely confused, and even more so on maybe it's flat, but I just stopped thinking about it, honestly. Because I was thinking, why would they want us to believe that the Earth is round? Why?
Well, that's like the $1 million question, right? We can speculate exactly why, but for me, it's that they're trying to hide God from us and us from who we are in connection to God. Because
but how are they trying to hide God?
Well, because the globe. Firstly, the globe, there's nowhere to go. So on a flat Earth, there might be other continents that they're hiding from us.
Of course,
So on the globe, you're trapped. You can't go anywhere. It's a prison planet. It's a globe. It comes from Big Bang. It wasn't created by God. You see, God does not create an explosion. Well, I know we've been in religion. I came from Christianity. They told us that, no, God decided the Big Bang was a good idea and then waited 13 billion years and eventually seeded Earth with life and so on.
I mean,
that's all.
Even in Islam, it does say that, it does hint that it was created with a Big Bang Theory, but at the end of the day, who did the Big Bang Theory? It's still God.
No, the Big Bang Theory is a theory made up by man. And do you know who that man is? A Catholic priest called George Lemaitre. He is the father of the Big Bang Theory. So when you subscribe to that, you're actually subscribing to Catholic belief. Yeah. So in the Quran, Shamsi walks here.
Yeah.
He's spoken to me about this as well. And he says, yes, in the Quran it says the sun and the moon, they travel over the earth.
Yeah.
Not the other way around, that the earth spins underneath them.
No, I do believe this.
In creation in the Old Testament, earth comes days before the sun and the moon, which are given for day and night.
In the Quran it does say that the sun
travels over there. And it rotates, yes.
But the scientific belief is that the sun is fixed.
Yeah, but the scientific belief
of course.
made people stay at home and put masks on their face in 2020. And that's all been proven to be very bad science. So there's lots of things that, you see, science can be used to control. I say to people this, that religion lost its power over people a few centuries ago, so they invented the science to control people.
Yeah.
Now, if you believe that you evolved from, I know you don't as a Muslim, believe you evolved from apes, but most people in the Western world believe we evolved
But they
from
didn't
apes.
want the religion to control people anymore, because it doesn't make money.
The religion doesn't make money.
Yeah.
You got to see the churches around the world, bro. They
I
make
do-
so much money.
I know.
Not so much
but
anymore, maybe.
Not as much as they'd want to without. If people
yeah.
trusted the state, not God,
Yeah.
they'll make so much money.
Yeah, no, I worked for a property firm in London many years ago, and it almost made me weep when I saw how much property the church owns, because this company was managing thousands of houses in just locally for the church. They own so much property, bro. They could solve homelessness overnight, but they charge the people who own. How have they come to own those properties? But by having money or by stealing the property or whatever.
The Catholic Church is even older than Jesus. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, none of it. No, well, I mean, there's lots of things that don't
The
make
Catholic
sense.
Church did
about-
actually mess up Christianity, but that's another point. But
Yeah, well, but
till now, I just still want to know why would they? I don't think making people believe that the Earth is
flat,
round
around.
stops people from believing in God, because actually God never actually mentioned if the Earth is flat or globe.
Well, that's not quite true. But, I mean, there's
the
200
firmament was
verses.
mentioned, the
The
firmament was
firmament is Psalms 19, but there's lots of verses where it says, God looked down upon the face of the earth, and you can't look down on a ball. You can only see, if you look down on a football, you can only see one bit of it. You can't see the whole of it. Also, that he stamped it out like a seal.
But
And
God
a seal which you stamp out
God
is
is
flat.
metaphysical, so you don't really God can see whatever He wants to see.
So,
you know what I mean?
well, that's one way of looking at that. I know I used to make the same excuse.
But
Now,
it's not really an excuse. I honestly, I'm not on the globe. Like I'm.
Okay. Well,
I'm
for
on
me,
the fence.
for me,
Purely
I
on the
think
fence.
that it's a good way of making people slaves, because if you knew that you were the inheritor of the earth by Allah's intention, it's like Allah says, "I'm going to create a version of myself." When Christianity says that God created you in God's image, right? And God breathed life into us, and God gave us stewardship and responsibility for the earth. But while we live on a globe, we need masters to protect us from asteroids, from dinosaurs, from all sorts of things. And so for me, it's one of the means of controlling us so that we do not take our heritage, our God-given rightful heritage. Because if we knew that this place was created for sure, not like some wishy-washy Christian idea of, evolution, Big Bang and all that sort of stuff, but if God said, I'm putting life into you and you are my son, you are my expression. If you knew that, if we honestly knew that, we would not go to war with each other. We would not be enslaved by each other. We would not pay tax, usury on the
usury.
banks.
But that's what I mean. It's not in the rich people's benefit to actually make people not believe. Yeah, make people believe in God.
So let me put it
God
to you
doesn't
like
make
this.
money.
I was an atheist, right? And when I found this flat earth stuff, it changed everything for me. So that's my personal
sense.
experience. And having been a globe believer and raising children on the globe and so on, I can tell you that it makes a huge difference once you see it. So for me, it's self-empowering. And then it also means that I no longer have to buy into all the bullshit of politics, all the scams that they're pulling on the world. The day they called the lockdown, in fact, those days leading up to it, I said, this is a scam.
Yeah.
This is a scam. Right from the beginning, I knew. Because why we know that everything that's being done at the moment is designed to control your mind. It's called MK Ultra, Mind Control Program.
MK Ultra is another thing. Maybe the word you're looking for is predictive programming.
That too.
MK Ultra is another thing. MK Ultra is literally just them taking you, frying your brain, and releasing you back. And
that's the extreme.
You're no harm.
Yeah, that's the extreme version of it. But actually, when you see how people went docile like sheep to lock themselves down and made their 5-year-old and 10-year-old children put nappies on their faces in 2020, and you know that the MK Ultra has worked because no one stood up. I was walking around towns in London, in the UK, going, where is everybody? Why aren't the people? It took them nearly a year to kind of finally, for some people, to start having protests.
It's
and
just
saying, hey, this is
submissiveness. It's just submissive.
submissive, yeah, because we have been muted.
But they told people stay at home, get paid, don't work. They were fine.
They were paid off.
Why would they? Why would
Yeah,
they?
they
Why
paid
would they
off.
not? Yeah.
But it's not only that, but it's like, okay, so
But then it's also law enforcing.
so
They said
yeah,
if you leave, you get fucked.
if I offer you $50 a day, you're going to say, okay, I'll never leave my house. If you give me $50 a day, I'll never leave my house. You say no, I'm not going to do that.
But wait.
You can't buy me off for $50.
Yeah, and wait when universal basic income comes in.
Yeah, that's coming.
Wait, that's when.
And
that's when
CBDC,
we're really
right? You've learned about CBDC.
No, I don't know, but I know there'll be universal basic income though.
And central bank digital currencies.
Yeah, no, but that's already happening. That's already.
Yes, ma'am.
I am sorry. Have you a business card?
Yes, I do.
Yes, please. I need
Excuse me.
to for my friends.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a few things. I've got a few bits and
Yeah,
pieces
yeah,
here.
we find you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Take this flyer because it's informative.
Yeah, thank you.
And I've got a couple of these for you, which you can take. And then my business card is here.
Wow. So.
And this is... Oh, you want two, did you?
Yeah, thank
Sure,
you.
no problem. And then this
True
is...
Earth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a really useful one. There's an app you can get on your phone, which has got so much great information.
Thank
a friend
you.
of mine put that together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All the
Have a
best.
good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Oh, welcome. Hope you've just joined the stream. Just get me some water. Try and avoid the... Of course, brother. Of course. You support Manchester?
Yeah, big United fan, man. Big United fan. I will try to keep reading more on this, but like I've read a lot about this. That sometimes I was like, yeah. Other times I was like,
You look like you can afford an app. This is £3, this app, and it's got all the best content.
that's when I look you in the face and tell you, I don't think I'm gonna pay for an app. But
That's
I'm,
fine.
I'm only,
but maybe
yeah.
a friend will. You know. Let me give you.
I will. I may do. Is it your app?
No, it's a friend of mine in America. He's put it together. But what he does is he finds the best videos, the best content, the best informative stuff. Like let's say, for example, a guy takes an infrared camera up in a plane, films stuff that's too far away to see. You won't find that video on YouTube, but he's put all of those together in one place. Experiments that people do, science guys do. Pilots that are talking about being airline pilots and they know they fly over a flat surface.
You can what you can research, and I think it will interest you. Maybe you already know about the Black Stone, huh?
The Black Stone?
The Black Rock.
In the center? Yeah, well, in
it's
the
Arctic.
Arctic.
It's the center of
Yeah.
gravity.
Do you think it's in Antarctica? Or
I think it's
in the
I think
Arctic?
it's somewhere we're really not allowed to go.
Yeah. So there's the Antarctic Treaty.
There's
that
an ice
stops us.
wall.
That's right. There's an Antarctic Treaty that stops us from going 60 south parallel. But also in this,
And you
the
can only
story
be there
goes-
for research.
Yes, and you can only go onto a tiny. It's like you visiting London and saying, "Oh, I've seen all of England." But no, is that mine?
No.
So it's called. I want to say the Kaaba, but it's not, of course. It's called.
The Kaaba does have a part of
Rufus
the Black
Niagara
Stone.
is the name.
Rufus
of it.
Niagara,
Yeah, that's it.
Rufus Niagara.
Now
The
I've
Black
never
Rock.
seen it. I've heard
you don't.
stories of it.
And you've seen the wind. Just research it.
We're told that
You'll
our
like it.
compasses point to it because it's a big magnetic
Yes,
stone. Yeah?
exactly.
I say that magnets only work in range. So the further you get away from a magnet, all of a sudden it has no power over your compass. So I suggest that the environment that we're in has a magnetic signature. Everywhere has a magnetic signature, and it's pointing in a particular direction. But if you go down the east coast of Africa, you know, by the time you're in the northern east coast of Africa, it's 8 degrees out. By the time you get to Cape Town,
Northeast. That's us.
yeah, where's that from? Like
Egypt.
Okay, but yeah, on the coast there, you're 8 degrees, you have to make 8 degrees adjustment. By the time you get to Cape Town, 25 degrees adjustment. And by the time you get to Antarctica, the compasses don't work. They don't work accurately. And so we don't know exactly how it works, but I do find that interesting, that there's a black stone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Salam alaikum, brother.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam. All the best. Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Cool. Would you like a flyer?
Yeah, why not? It's a
You're on holiday?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay, I was there just a little while ago in Geneva.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
It's
big. So,
oh,
yeah,
Geneva.
not bigger than here, but for Switzerland it's big.
Yeah, but beautiful. You know a place called Lauterbrunnen? You heard of Lauterbrunnen? It's a small village. I went skiing there a few years ago. Loved it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I loved it. And I went to Basel, or was it Bern? Can't remember now. But I did this street activism there in Switzerland in 2019, just before the lockdown. So, well, you're on holiday, and that's fantastic. How long are you on holiday for?
We have more 3 days.
3 more days. Did you take a plane to get here, or did you
Yes,
drive?
plane.
Okay. So, in Switzerland, you are on average about 900 meters, 500, 800, 900 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
Yes. But when you drive, say, to the Mediterranean, you might go over some mountains, maybe go up a bit, down a bit, whatever. But overall, if you start at 900 meters, you will go down 900 meters and get to the sea. That's true, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what if you changed direction and went from your home at 900 meters and drove to France to Calais? You would also come down 900 meters. Yes? What if you went the other way through Germany or whatever to the sea that way? Also, you would come down 900 meters. Yeah? Because everything on Earth is given a height above sea level. But it doesn't matter which sea we're talking about, because every sea has got the same level. Yeah? In the lakes that you have, beautiful Lucerne and all of those lakes that you have there, as you come down the mountains, think about this next time you're driving out of the mountains, is that this lake that I'm seeing now is flat.
Yeah.
Not only is it flat, it's horizontal to the next lake down the mountain. Yes? So this one is there, then you drive down 50 meters, 100 meters, there's the next lake. Horizontal, 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 all the way down until you get to the sea, horizon, horizontal. So all water bodies are flat and horizontal with each other. Even if you take your water glass, your bottle of water, Evian, if you take your bottle of water and you tip it like this sideways next to the lake, the water is still going to be parallel to the lake. Yeah, it doesn't matter which way you tip it, once it comes to rest, that water will be parallel with the lake. And that's true with every body of settled liquid and gas in our environment. They will always find a level. And that level is either small inside of a swimming pool or a lake, Lucerne, or it's big inside of the Mediterranean Sea or the Atlantic Ocean. So aside from tides, when we travel from England to America or from Switzerland to America, your plane will fly up to 35,000 feet. It will hold that altitude and that heading or that position flat for 8 hours, and then it'll settle back down 30,000 to 30,000 feet, or from 30,000 feet to the ground, to the landing strip, right?
What I don't understand is that if we have like picture of the space and it's like not flat on the pictures.
Yes.
So how do you, not judging now,
no.
But
How do
you know? How do you think the Earth is flat if it's round in the pictures?
Okay, so I've been to Switzerland and I can tell you how beautiful it is, and I can send you photographs of my trip there. Can you send me photographs of your trip to space?
No, because you don't have the money.
None of us have been there. None of us have been there. So the only photos that are in your mind have been given to you by who? Government.
Yeah.
Right? So is it possible that they could fake it? If they were trying to fake that we live on a globe, how would they fake it? Well, they use a fisheye lens. They use a fisheye lens. You know what a fisheye lens is? Yes, and it makes everything round. Even if I took a drone with a fisheye lens 20 meters above Hyde Park, it would already start to look like a ball. Yes?
Yeah.
And that's exactly how they fake it. And they can use, Photoshop. They can use, like we saw with the moon landings, what they did was, because they didn't have Photoshop in those days, was they put a little crescent picture of an Earth in a window, and then they filmed that and said, that's the Earth. And you can see like it's half a ball that we can see we're traveling away from the Earth on the lunar lander. And then when that footage ends, you can see them cut, they think they forget, they don't know that the film is still running. and they take away the picture from the window, and you can see them turn a light on, and you can see they're not actually in space at all.
Yeah, but why would they fake it? Like there's no there's no
value for them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I came to you and said your boyfriend was lying to you about something, I saw him doing something yesterday, and he's lying to you about that.
Yeah.
Why would he be lying to you? Because he was trying to hide something from you, yeah? So what are they trying to hide from us? Is the question. And I obviously am not the one committing the crime in this case, so I don't know exactly what they're hiding. But the simple answer for me is about control of mankind, and to steal your divine rights given to you by God. That we are the expression of God, and we should have no one master us. We should not be under governments that can tell us to stay at home, put a mask on our face, have to take needles in the arm. We should not have to do that. They also tax you. They also, how much tax we pay, and people say, but we need the tax to pay for schools and roads and things like that. Actually, when you look into the way that the world financing works and the way that the world banking system works, it's all a Ponzi scheme to steal your life energy and ensure that the majority of us have to work our entire lives, our healthiest, youngest, fittest lives. We spend all of that time in an office or something like that, spend 50% of our income on taxes, and then, with the rest of it, we're lucky if we have a few years left at the end to play golf, when in fact you are a divine spark of the creator here, and you shouldn't be controlled by any entity. Yeah. Obviously, it's not to say that we can do whatever we want. There's a golden rule in nature of do no harm.
Yeah.
Treat others as you would treat yourself, and don't steal from another man or a woman, And that's the golden rule. But so long as you're attending to that, then you should have no need for me to tell you what to do. If you want to go this way and go that way, then that's up to you.
Yeah.
But these appointed governors or religious leaders or whatever, they keep telling you, no, you're bad, you shouldn't do this. Climate change is going to, and I know you're young, so climate change may be something that you're bought into.
Yeah.
But for me, it's one of those same stories. I'm 57, and in my lifetime, they have told me so many stories about we're going to run out of oil, we're going to explode, we're going to, in the 1970s, they were telling us by the year 2000, there'd be an ice age, everything would be frozen over. They tell us that the polar caps are all melting and we're flooding. Well, I went back to South Africa to swim in the same beach that I swam in as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old boy, and the sea level is still the same there. Yeah. The Maldive Islands are still above water, and they're meant to be flooded, years ago. So they use all these mechanisms to control us because climate change is going to limit what you can do in future. They're going to be like, you can only have one trip a year on a plane. You can only buy so many eggs or meat or whatever it is that you eat. They're going to try and restrict us to keeping, like if you kept, some days, if you think about how modern farming works, they try and feed the cattle as cheaply as possible so that they can make as much profit as possible. And we're cattle to the people who run the world, and they want to keep us in our cages, like battery farming. You know what the term battery farming means? Like when they put chickens in little cages next to each other like this, hundreds of next to each other like this, rather than they can just run around in the garden and eat worms and what have you. Yeah. They keep them in cages. Well, that's what they're doing to mankind. But if you knew you were the master, you would not allow them to do that to you. But now while we live on this prison planet, then we need a master. If we live on a flat earth, maybe there's more continents. There's certainly endless resources for all of us to thrive. And there should be the opportunity given to young people to say, hey, spend the next 20 years traveling and go and find yourself and do art and do whatever it is you love. Explore this world, because this world was meant for you to have this grand learning, growing soul experience. And that's why I say I'm a flyer, save your soul. Or what does it say? Free your heart, realize your soul purpose. Because your soul purpose is not to be a slave in the machine, in the matrix.
If the government try to control us, why you can speak like that in public? Like why you are understand?
Let us.
Because we do have a long history of freedom of. Hey, bro. We have a long history of the freedom of speech. However, the most people are not standing in Speaker's Corner. The most people are watching BBC or whatever your main Swiss government-sponsored news channel is. The most people are watching that. So if there was a protest today of people saying, hey, we want a particular thing, and the government didn't want you to hear that, you would not see that on the news. There's lots of things that get protested about that don't get on the news. Or if it does get on the news, they'll try and cover it in a way, oh, look at these bad rioters, they were out rioting. When 99% of the people that were there were family members who were trying to say, hey, we're not happy with this. We want change. We want something different. You do not get to hear about that. There was a minister in the government here called Andrew Bridgen. And for the last 3 years, he's been saying, hey, I want to have a conversation in Parliament about excess death. Because since the vaccination, excess death in this country, in Switzerland, in Europe, America, Australia, has gone up by 15% on average. And they want to talk about that. And he got kicked out of the political party for that. Now, YouTube, which I'm streaming on, is government controlled, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so when I was in 2021 walking around South Africa saying to people, hey, listen, I think this is bad for you. Don't do what they're asking you to do, right? YouTube took my channel away. They would never let me monetize, not that I want to necessarily, but they would never let me monetize. And my content, even the stream, will not be pushed out to my subscribers. It's called shadow banning. So we get shadow banned because we're saying things that... So yes, there is definitely censorship. And our newspapers are all, controlled entities. They do not get to publish what you and I might think. They will only get to publish what is the controlled narrative of the day. That doesn't mean they don't want war, because war is very good for this world. They love controlling us through European wars, World War I, World War II, maybe World War III is coming. They love controlling us through the use of war. One, because you're going to pay for it through your taxes. And two, because now you need a military. Now you need a government to defend you from this enemy that is apparently coming. You don't know that that enemy has been funded by the same people who are funding this war. Now, people don't know this, but Adolf Hitler was funded by George Bush's family. George Bush, the president of America, he was 3 presidents ago?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, he was president and his dad was president, George Bush and another one, Bush. And they were president. And their father, a guy called Prescott Bush, was imprisoned for funding Adolf Hitler. The American bankers were funding his war machine. The Ford company, the car Ford? Yes? Henry Ford was giving oil to Hitler to keep his airplanes in the air. Ford was an American. Why is he supporting the Germans? They will tell you that when you come to the world being under control, it gets really murky. And the powers that be, it means that Russia and America and China, they're not really enemies at the top table. They create war so that they can control each of the different camps, each of the different farms. We're all on a farm. Switzerland is a farm, England is a farm. That's what it is. Because at the end of the day, we should be free-range chickens. We should be able to go wherever we want, whenever we want. Not have to have a passport, not have to ask permission, and so on.
Yeah, but without rules, there will be chaos everywhere.
There needs to be some rule, yeah. But go back to Africa, say a few hundred years ago, when people lived in a tribe or in a village. In that village, there would be rules. And if you were hurting, like I said, the golden rule, if you were hurting or harming, or stealing or whatever, then the community would have to take action against that, yes? However, if I came to your village and I started paying some boys to do bad things, and then came later and said, hey, I see there's a lot of crime and problems in your village. Why don't you let me take control of it for you? But I'm the one who started the problem, The reason why we have migration where there's people are desperate, they're hungry, they come and steal, right? Because why? Where they live has become so impoverished. And when you look at how the World Banks, and which are situated in Basel, the Bank of International Settlements, when you look at how the World Banks have made African countries, South American countries poor, Cuba, what they've done to the people of Cuba, for example, with all the sanctions on that economy and so on, to stop them from growing their own food and stuff. When you make them poor, and then then they come to America and maybe steal, then the Americans saying, build us a bigger wall, please. We don't want anyone coming in or getting out. We want a bigger wall. So that's how they get us to play against each other, become my own sister's enemy. When in fact we should be like in a much more harmonious, mindset. But I use the example, I'll let you go after this. I use the example of taking 10 puppies, putting them in one cage, and then putting 3 puppies of food in every day. Soon enough, those puppies will become vile. They will be fighting each other. They will be, some will be cowering in the corner, scared, and others will be taking all of the food for themselves. Well, that's what's happened to mankind, is that we've been put into a cage. Some have got most of the food, and others are fighting for it, and it changes your behavior. Those puppies, as adults, will raise their own children with that same broken mindset.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's okay.
Because there's like, it's science has proven that the Earth is not, in fact, flat. Like, I respect your opinion.
Science actually hasn't proven it. There is no proof. What proof would you cite that is the Earth is a globe?
I don't know any, because I'm not
No,
science,
you are a scientist.
But
each of us is a scientist, for sure.
I'm pretty sure there is proof.
Yeah, no, I used to think that too. But actually the idea that the water is curving cannot be proven. The idea that the Earth is spinning cannot be proven. There were experiments done in the late 1800s to prove that the Earth was spinning, and they failed. And so they don't show us those experiments anymore. One of them is called Airy's failure, and he was the Queen's astronomer. And he came up with his experiment in 1865 and failed to prove that the Earth is spinning. And so it's the stars and the sun that are moving overhead. Yeah. I asked ESA, European Space Agency, I said to them, when I met them in Italy somewhere, I said to them, so what is your proof that the Earth is spinning? And the lady looked at me and said, because the sun rises and travels over my head. I said, that's what I'm saying. The sun rises, it travels over your head. We are not moving. There's nothing, you can't even point to me the direction we're moving, because we do not feel it. We do not sense it, we cannot measure it. So we're not moving, water is not curving, and the vacuum of space is a scientific aberration, because thermodynamics says that if you want a deodorant can under pressure, you must keep the can sealed. If you puncture the can, immediately the gas will equalize with the surrounding environment. If there is no physical barrier above us in the sky, then our atmosphere should go away in an instant. In a second, less than a second, it should be gone into the vacuum of space. That's what we find if we test things in a vacuum chamber. Instant equalization of pressure. Yeah. So nothing about the model actually makes sense, but they got photos or CGI of them up in space that makes us believe that we're up in space. There's a documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It's quite a good start. It doesn't prove that the Earth is flat, but it certainly undermines the idea that we ever landed on the moon. And then you realize that there's even astronauts have said, Russian astronauts, a Polish one said, we've never been to space. Buzz Aldrin said, we've never been to the moon. He said that to an 8-year-old girl. It's still on in 2015. It's still on YouTube. There's another one called Astronauts Gone Wild, where 10 of the 12 NASA astronauts who claimed to land on the moon were offered a Bible and $5,000. Put your hand on the Bible, swear you went to the moon. 10 of them, every one of them refused, including Buzz Aldrin, who punched the guy in the face. It's all on video. It's called Astronauts Gone Wild. And Neil Armstrong, the most famous of them all, he says, knowing you, Mr. Sabrell, that's probably not a real Bible, so I won't do it. You know what, if you brought me a comic book and offered me $5,000 for a charity of my choice that I'd been to Speaker's Corner on Sunday, this day, I'd put it on any book, because it wouldn't bother me. I don't have to justify it. The truth is that. I don't care what book you're giving me. I'll take the $5,000 for my charity. Okay. So yeah, keep an open mind. We can't prove that we're on a spinning ball. But NASA and Disney have worked together since the 1950s. In fact, Walt Disney and the guy who starts NASA, Jack Parsons, and L. Ron Hubbard were students of the Church of Satan back in the 1950s and 60s. They were students of his, they were friends, the three of them. One sets up a religion that says we come from space. Another one sets up cartoons that says we can fly into space. And then the third one has this space program. And the guy who led the space program was a guy called Werner von Braun. He was a Nazi rocket scientist brought to America under Operation Paperclip. And on his tombstone, he has Psalms 19:1, a Bible verse that says there's a roof over our heads.
Well,
I'll leave it there.
I don't share your opinion, but thanks for the conversation.
My pleasure. Yeah, no, I don't need to convince you, because you can only unpick the brainwash on yourself. I can't do it for you. And it's only like I also ridiculed Flat Earth, and it was only until I was willing to go and look at it seriously and go, okay, let me check my own science on the globe, really go and explore that again, and I know the globe science very well. And then I came to the conclusion that the government are lying about pretty much everything. Why should I trust them that they've been to space? The guy who gave us the blue marble image that was on the iPhone, he admits that it's a painting. He works for NASA. I only made that in a painting. I've never been to space. And I haven't got a photo to work from. Only data.
Well, thanks
all the
for
best.
the conversation.
All the best.
Hi, how are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good to see you again.
Likewise. Are you cold?
No, just hot, but the sun is,
the sun is
just
baking.
covering my head as well.
Hi.
Hi, we have questions.
Yeah. Would you like a flyer to go with the question?
Sure.
First of all, why do you think the Earth is flat?
You come from the North Americas?
I come from Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. I haven't been there, but I've traveled to 30 states in America, you know. And when I traveled across America from Boston to the West Coast, like California or whatever, I had to travel over the Rocky Mountains, yeah?
Yeah.
So when I started Boston, I'm in the Boston Harbor. My position is 0 sea level. And then I go up the mountains, the Blue Smoky Mountains or whatever in Virginia, and then I go across, you know, the whole of America for 3 or 4 days, whatever it was. And then I go over the Rockies, and then I get into California. And guess what? The sea level on the other side is the same. So I've gone up like quite high, a few thousand meters in the case of the Rockies. But no matter how high I go up, I'll come down exactly the same amount, even though I've traveled 3,000 miles in span. So the sea level, according to USGS, which is your governmental survey, says that the sea level difference between the Pacific and the Atlantic, 9 inches. Now, if we live on a globe, and the water is curving on that globe, then there is a certain measurable curvature to that water. Yeah, a bending, because we're meant to be standing on the top of the ball, that's relativity, and down there is where Africa is, or wherever, South America in your case, yeah, down there. Yeah, so that curvature should be measurable. And when I discovered that the formula for the curvature is 8 inches per mile squared, I plugged that into my calculator and I plugged that into my mind, and when I've been to places in the world, I've stood on coastlines and seen things 20 miles, 30 miles away. How is that possible if there's this amount of curvature in play? Well, really, truly, it's not. Water is always going to find level. Water will always find level, and we cannot prove that we're spinning.
Then explain, like a while ago, who did this? The ship thing.
Yeah, it was someone around Columbus's time.
I'll explain it. Someone around Columbus's time, he sent a ship off into the distance. They were on the beach, and the ship gradually got smaller and smaller.
And to finish what and more importantly, as part of the globe argument, is that the ship disappears from the hull first. So the bottom of the ship disappears first. Now, guess what? If your brother, I assume this is your brother, and you had to do a little experiment at home. Let's say you got a really long football pitch or some other acknowledged flat piece of ground that's everyone would agree is a flat piece of ground. In fact, like you could go, there's states in America that are flatter than pancakes. But you could go to places like the Salt Flats in Bolivia, which are thousands of square miles of flatness. You put the camera on the ground and then start to walk away. And as you walk into the distance, not only are you going to get smaller because of perspective, but your ankles will go, your feet and your ankles and your knees will go first. And then eventually you will lose the person all the way up to the head and you won't be able to see them at all. But they haven't gone over anything, it's absolutely flat. This is just perspective and angle of resolution. Because guess what? If you were watching your brother walk away from you and now he's all completely disappeared, you could get into a hot air balloon and go just to 50 meters of altitude. Look, there he is. Oh, I can see him again. Not only can I see him, I can see more flat ground past him. Now I allow him to walk for another hour, guess what? You'll lose him again. And he will look back at the hot air balloon and say, whoa, you know, you're really close to the ground. It looks like you're touching the ground from back here. But as he walks back towards the hot air balloon, his head will go up and up and up and go, Dad, sorry, my name's. He'll go, whoa, you're right up there. But when I was over there, you looked like you were close to the ground. That's perspective.
Fall off?
What?
The edge.
Well, the assumption that there's an edge is what we are brainwashed with when we are 6 years old. When you're 6 and 7 years old, you go to school and they say, people, very simple people, used to believe that the earth was flat. Ha 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 ha, that's so ridiculous because you would just sail off the edge. Well, anyone who's researched flat earth at all knows that there has to be some kind of containment. Water, liquid, unless it's frozen, must be contained. It has to be contained. You can't give me an example of water that isn't inside of a lake, a cup, or whatever. You know, once a teardrop or rain is not contained, but however, once it falls and strikes the ground, it will pool, and if that pool fills up, it will overflow and run down, always down, to the next pool. So we must be in an enclosure.
But what if the water wasn't like that, and it had just stayed around the Earth by the gravitational force that pulled it into?
Okay, so that's a theory, right?
I believe it is scientifically proven.
No, you'd be believing wrong. It's still a theory. It's called a theory of gravity. And because something that's more dense than the air falls to the floor, they then extend it through relativity and other clever means to the idea that water can stick to the underside of a ball. But in physics, we cannot demonstrate that.
Then how come Magellan circumnavigated the Earth?
Well, you can circumnavigate. Let's say we're in London, okay? I don't know how well you know London or Atlanta, okay? Atlanta's a big city. You've probably got like a big motorway or highway that runs around the city. Well, you can circumnavigate Atlanta. You can take an off turn at junction 15 and drive in and visit something, then drive back out at junction 15 and carry on that circumnavigation. And on a flat Earth, which is how all sailors sailed once upon a time, then you can do that. You can all the circumnavigation, all the world Vendée, all the world around the world sailing routes. If you map them on a flat Earth map, which by the way is the same as the United Nations logo map, which is the same as the USGS map, all of these use the same flat Earth projection. This one that I got on my chest here, this one here, this is the USGS, this is the United Nations logo. And you can circumnavigate that all day long, or for months and months and months. And Captain Cook is said to have circumnavigated for 3 years, traveling 60,000 miles, always keeping the Antarctic ice wall on his right-hand side.
But that people say he's done that. What makes that theory any different from the theory that the Earth is flat?
Okay, I'll accept that. I'll accept that because yes, this is kind of historical hearsay. But then people will want to say, well, Christopher Columbus, America wasn't known about until Christopher Columbus. That's also been proven to be completely false. And that people thought he was going to sail off the edge of the earth and all that sort of hoopla. But in fact, we've got proof that people dating back 1,000 years or more were in contact with the South Americas. We've got buildings that look the same in South America as they do in Italy, in London.
Is that proof that he got there any different from the proof that the Earth is flat?
No. So we can go around the houses all day long, but the fact is that water is level, and we can't prove that the Earth is spinning. So how do we get night and day if the Earth is not spinning? Well, it's a little bit like taking the Super Bowl or Superdome that you got there at Atlanta and taking a flashlight and just running it around the stadium once a day. It'll only illuminate some of the stadium for some of the time, but the rest of the stadium will be in darkness. And that's how it travels around, we believe, because of course we can't absolutely say exactly how it works, but we believe that it's a local light that travels around the Earth.
What about the pictures?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What about the pictures from space?
Pictures from space? Well, they're mostly admitted to be CGI, computer-generated images. Yeah, they're mostly CGI. There's a friend of mine in America who set up an app. If you want the best proofs on this, it'll cost you $3 to get the app.
Thank you.
And there's all of those things can be debunked. He's got all sections for all the frequently asked questions. Your questions are great, but they're frequently asked. We've been doing this for nearly 10 years now, and we've addressed pretty much all of the questions that have come up. And recently, a guy took an infrared camera in an airplane, and he took a photo from the East Coast, and he was able to identify the Rocky Mountains. Earth is flat.
Thank you.
Have a great life.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
I was curious about what you said about the sun as as a light that circles around the Earth.
Yes.
What I didn't really understand. What do you think drives the sun around the Earth?
Well, we believe that it's an electromagnetic torus, and electromagnetism is sort of a self-perpetuating machine. It's almost like the Nikola Tesla claim that you could have infinite energy, where it's just constantly cycling. So if you know what a torus is, right? It's like an onion or an orange, electromagnetic orange, and it's spinning. And all the time the energy is moving, you can never destroy energy. Energy is only transmuted from one state to another. So that energy is, in this case, is rising up and going up into the roof, perhaps into a black hole or something, and circling back round and coming back down through the floor and rising. Quantum physics, they'll tell you that there's vast amounts of energy rising all the time. So I don't know exactly what motivates it, but my best answer to you is it's an electromagnetic dynamo, and so it powers itself. It doesn't need, it uses magnetism and electricity to power itself. And it's just on a cyclical turning cycle. And every 24 hours, Land of the Rising Sun receives the new arrival of the sun, and then it travels over the face of the earth, illuminating half of it at any one given time, depending on the season.
So I could be confused here. I'll admit, I personally don't believe the Earth is flat. I believe in gravity. So you're saying yourself gravity is an electromagnetic force that kind of functions like gravity, say Newtonian physics, and they traps them together and they circle around each other. Is that what you're saying, sir?
No. So when it comes to gravity, have you studied any quantum physics?
I wouldn't say particularly.
Okay.
I know a little bit.
Okay, so because I studied some quantum physics, and I discovered that the quantum physicists acknowledge that the electromagnetic force is 1 to the billion times more powerful than gravity. It is 1 to the 24 zeros more powerful than gravity. So gravity on the macro scale is considered to be, laughable. In fact, quantum physicists sort of laugh and snigger at Einsteinian and certainly Newtonian physics of mass attracting mass. Einstein sort of superseded mass attracting mass with, relativity and the bending and warping of space and time and all of that sort of stuff. But some of the science nerds that are in flat Earth will tell you that there's an electrostatic force here, which has a downward gradient. So it does create a very slight downward bias on the Earth. However, the most significant force that you and I have to encounter in our day-to-day lives is the question or the difference between buoyancy and density. So I call it displacement. So if you and I we jumped in a swimming pool, we would be all of a sudden displacing more mass than our weight, yeah? And that would make us float, particularly if our lungs were full of air. We would float because we were displacing, that's why a steel whole ship will float, because it's displacing more water than the weight of the ship, yes? But when we're in the air, in this atmosphere is super light, super is not very dense. And so we are not buoyant at all. We in fact are very heavy, in this thin air. But a helium balloon, well, that's not heavy at all in this air. In fact, it's lighter than this air. So when you release the helium balloon, up it goes. When you release the hot air from the hot air balloon, or when you fill a balloon and you heat that air, and the density goes down, it goes up.
Sorry, sir. I could be mistaken. But my understanding of buoyancy has always been, there's two different objects. One's more dense, one's less dense.
Yes.
The one that is more dense,
yes,
supposedly experiences more gravity per volume, so it has this less air resistance, whatnot, and then it comes down. I never looked into it in detail,
yeah.
I'll admit.
Okay, Karen.
But for example, at least from what I've seen in the videos, in space there isn't much buoyancy. You see what I mean? I'm a bit confused.
Yeah.
For example,
so everything in space, let me just clarify. For me, everything in space is done by Hollywood.
Okay.
So when we really unpick the videos of the International Space Station and spacewalks and so on, there are so many errors that we find in that footage. Bubbles leaving the helmet when they're on a spacewalk. Or one time a scuba diver was seen in the reflection of an astronaut's helmet during a spacewalk. Now we know that they train in Dallas in a swimming pool that has got a mock-up of the ISS. We've seen them with harnesses. There's famously, are you Chinese? Japanese?
I'm Chinese.
So there's I think a Japanese space astronaut on a harness flying through the scene, and you can see the harness on him, and he's meant to be sort of floating in space. Some of it, when they do their training, they use something called parabolic flight, where they take a plane up super high and then they drop it down for 80,000 feet or whatever. And in that minute of time, they have weightlessness. They experience weightlessness. Now, anyone can do that if you've got the money to go and do that. But that kind of weightlessness, I believe they sometimes use that as part of their splicing in of a bit of footage to say, hey, we're in space. So they use harnesses, they use green screen, they use the Vomit Comet or the G plane, whatever, anti-G plane, and they use a swimming pool to fake space. So here's a thought for you. You can go and Google this as much as you like, but if you can find footage of a successful test of a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber, you'd be doing well, because we've never seen one. In all the 10 years I've been looking at flat Earth versus globe stuff, no one has ever said from the globe side, here's the proof, we can put a man in a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber. The one time they tried it in the 1960s, the man almost died and they'd only got to a partial vacuum. They stopped the test and the doctors rushed in and revived him, but they've never done another test that we've ever seen. Now, if you were going to space and you had to have a bespoke suit made for you, every one of those suits would have to be tested with you inside to make sure that when you get to the vacuum of space, you're not going to die instantly.
Yes.
But the same spacesuit that they use in the swimming pool, which is under 2 or 3 bars of pressure, inward pressure, is the same spacesuit they use on the spacewalk, and you can't see any difference, and yet they're in an outward drawing pressure. You know, the vacuum should be sucking on you, that you look like a big puffed up Michelin man.
That's a fair point. So.
Because if we took a balloon and put it in a vacuum chamber and took created a vacuum, that balloon would burst. Eventually it would stretch and then burst. Well, we need to see a man successfully do that on Earth to believe that they have the technology to protect a man in that kind of situation. And then when you look back at the 1960s footage of the early space, Yuri Gagarin and all the early Russian and American stuff, you see that the spacesuits they used there look similar to the spacesuits they used for the U-2 spy plane, the U-2 B-57 bomber or whatever it was, because they travel at 70, 80,000 feet. And up there, the pressure is so poor or weak that a man would die. So he needs a pressurized suit and he needs oxygen. Well, they look like exactly the same suit, but they're only at like 20 miles or 20 kilometers. They're not, thousands of kilometers or hundreds of kilometers up in the vacuum of space. No.
Fair, so I honestly haven't really considered that idea before. I came interested.
I have
a few questions.
Yeah, you go ahead. And the thing is that I will never convince you to leave the belief system that you are in. No one could convince me but myself. I was in the belief system for up until age 47. You see. So but it was only me. I had to watch loads of content. I had to think about it an awful lot. It took me months before I was like, hey man, there might be something to this. And probably a whole year before I was willing to say for sure, it's definitely not a globe. It's a.
So you believe not as a flat earther, but then you converted, so to say?
I was never a flat earther. I used to joke about flat earth when I was a kid because it's in the Bible that the earth is not moving, it's set upon pillars, it's flat, it's got a roof over it. All of that stuff is in the Bible. I wasn't a Bible believer, but I had Bible lessons as a kid. So I knew about the idea of flat earth, of course, and we're all taught that in school, that it's a ridiculous idea, you fall off the edge and all that sort of stuff. So I had all the same programming, but it took me a lot of many hours, hundreds of hours of research and looking at people's evidence, listening to airline pilots, looking at how flights could work on a flat earth, looking at how really exploring shipping routes. How do shipping routes work? Could they work on a flat earth? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And so you're the only one that's ever going to step out of the belief system that you're in. It is a belief system. I know that because I come from it. I believed in gravity, I believed in evolution, I believed in all the things that mainstream science...
Does evolution have anything to do with this?
Well, we can't evolve from monkeys if we were on a flat earth. This place was created on purpose,
do you
by
believe
design.
in God, sir?
I believe that there's a higher something, a higher consciousness. There's something. We can use the word God or Allah or Mother Nature or whatever. I don't have a need to hold to one title of that, but I was an atheist at age 47, and in 2015 I was given some ayahuasca, some dimethyltryptamine, which is known as the God particle, and I had a near-death experience. It lasted 7 minutes, and the first words as an atheist, the first words out of my mouth when I could speak again was, it's true, there is a God, there is something, you have a higher self, that when this body is finished, you go back to that higher self. Now, is that higher self God, or is that higher self, a fractal of God, and that God is sort of up the pyramid a bit further or whatever? Then, maybe. But I don't need to be sure about exactly how the after-death thing works. Just that I was a guy who didn't believe that there was anything after death. 7 minutes after my experience, I know for sure there's something, and we are the expression of that something. And we are brought into this, let's say, fallen world, to use a biblical term, a fallen world in which you are offered all sorts of vices, pornography, money, materialism, I should say. You are offered all sorts of things. And the question is, are you going to fall into the trap and get lost at the casino? Or are you going to find your own path and walk, in truth towards your higher self, towards your own best version of yourself? And ultimately, it requires of us to be good people, good men, to be honorable people, not dishonor, not to harm, not to thieve, not to do bad things, and so on. That's what it requires of us. I know most people are like that anyway, but there's so many seductions in this world that would try and affect you, whether it's politics, this idea of racism, nationalism, all of these things are designed to weaken us and empower the people in control and make the fence around each of us ever taller, rather than us embracing and going, hey, we're actually brothers. We may look a little different in the mirror, but we're actually brothers. And we come from the same source. Exactly how it works, I don't know, but there is a source. But I don't stand with all the religious zealotry. No, that's not for me.
I just wanted to
have a flyer, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I'll look into it.
All the best. All the best. Thank you.
You said that all the footage from outer space is fake by Hollywood. So I was just curious because there's multiple governments like Soviet Union and stuff.
I know, isn't that a crazy thing?
So did they all use
collude?
Hollywood together, or did they each conspire together?
No, I don't think so. I think that I'm not saying that they work completely independently of each other, but I think that back in the space race days, the 1950s and 60s, probably the Russians were doing their thing in their camp and the Americans were doing their thing in their camp. Now, you can't even ask the question of collusion because, for years after the space shuttle, was taken out of service, then the Americans were going up in the Russians. In the Russian spacecraft, and the International Space Station is an international collaboration to all work on the same thing. Now, do I think that when it comes to the space station, if you understand the space station at all, you'll know that there's an American section, there's a Russian section, there's a Japanese section, yeah? Now, what I believe in my heart, although I can't prove this, is that the Americans do their own thing in their section, somewhere in Atlanta or something, according to information I've heard. They film their thing, they do their thing. The Russians do their thing over in Russia, and the Japanese do their thing. But very occasionally, they say, oh, we're going to have a get-together day. And I believe that get-together day will be where they fly all of the cosmonauts, or the fake astronauts, into the same section of the ISS, and then they will conduct a sort of day together. But normally I think, and so, the Navy, the American Navy has the biggest sound studio in the world. The NASA are the biggest buyers of helium in the world. Why do I say that? I think because they use helium to float their rockets into space. They make them look like they're going up into space. So they fill them with helium. They're like large helium balloons with a rocket attached to them. And they shoot them up 30 miles and then drop them in the Bermuda Triangle. But I think it's all staged. There's a documentary American guy called Bart Sibrel made a documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, where he's gotten hold of some NASA's original tapes from the moon landing, and you can see how they're staging it and faking it in that documentary called Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. That one, and another one he did was Astronauts Run Wild, where he offers 10 of the 12 lunar astronauts. He offers them $5,000 to a charity of their choice. Put your hand on my Bible, I'll swear you into the moon. Not one will do it, not one. Now, I, even if he brought me a Quran or a different book or whatever, or a comic book, it wouldn't matter. I would still put my hand on that and say, yeah, I did this. I came to the Speaker's Corner on Sunday. I'd have no problem with you even asking me that question, and be happy that you were giving me $5,000 to my favorite charity. But Buzz Aldrin punches him in the face, famously in the video. Another one kicks him in the butt. Get out of my house! The punching. Yeah. So and Buzz Aldrin said to an 8-year-old girl who asked him, "Why haven't we been back in 40 years, 50 years?" He said, "That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question." But the truth is, we never went. He said that. We never went. Now, people who are in the kind of anti-flat Earth kind of movement will say, "No, he was drunk," or he misspoke, or you're taking it out of context. I've watched the whole video, and to me it seems like he's kind of fessing up. Same as, and Neil Armstrong famously never gave interviews, maybe a handful in all the years after the moon landing. He always looked super uncomfortable, most uncomfortable on the day that they came back and they gave a press conference and they don't know whether they saw stars or didn't saw stars. They saw stars or didn't see stars. And they didn't see stars and they look so nervous. They're like jumpy, jittery. They're not like concise with their answers. Like if you and I just won the Formula One or Indy 500 or whatever, you just won it, you'd be able to tell me about every turn, every overtake, everything in such crystal clear detail, and you'd be so pumped about it. This is not how they seem. Anyway, in one of his final pieces in the public, he gave a speech to some graduates, and he said, we've still got to unlock one of mankind's greatest secrets. I think that he went to his deathbed holding a secret that he was a proud, patriotic man, but I think that he was forced to keep a secret that he really hated that he was keeping.
How do you explain different space agencies have found, have taken footage of the moon and have seen the lander that's fake?
Well, I think that's, remember, so any space agency, if the world is controlled like I believe it is, then any space agency that gets set up like a franchise. All of them, most of them have the same NASA, that chevron that they use in the NASA logo, the red chevron? It's got a red
arrow kind of thing? Yeah.
That chevron is in pretty much every JAXA, all of them. They all use the same chevron, right? I believe it's a franchise. And so in order to get the franchise, firstly, you have to be invited to the very top table. This is not about being a billionaire or a very wealthy country. Like Saudi Arabia, they should be able to put their own men on the moon because they're one of the wealthiest countries, right? So what they do is they say, right, this is how you're going to do it. We'll give you the keys. We'll show you how it's done. And then you will do these things. So to go and get this sort of image of some lunar lander or whatever on the moon, I'm like, how hard would that be to fake? Sandra Bullock went to space in a movie called Gravity. Everyone knows she did that on the ground. Right? And so, in the same with the moon landing, it's like you can see that in NASA, there's footage of them creating this room-sized moon, the size of a room. You'd be like, well, what? And with railway tracks next to it, like for dollies, for running cameras. Why would you need to do that? Why would you create that? Why would you have to fake these things? The lunar lander itself, they could never prove that the lunar lander would ever fly on Earth. Neil Armstrong lasted the longest. He was about 40 seconds in the lander before he had to eject because he could not control it. And that was a lunar lander that was just the chassis, no weight on it, no body on it, no whatever. And they're like, it's fine, it'll work when we get to the moon. It doesn't work on Earth. Same with the spacesuit. Did you hear me say it? The spacesuit had never been tested in a vacuum. We're like, don't worry, when we get to space, it'll work. Don't worry. Yeah, because you're in a swimming pool or you're never actually leaving Earth, the atmosphere. So that, and one of the funny things from the moon landing is that one of the crews are leaving the moon. Their sort of lunar lander rockets off the surface of the moon, shoots up, and the camera pans up and follows it. Now think about that. We're talking about 1960s technology. So they had a camera that could pan in 1960s with no one remotely controlling it, that they left behind with footage that was in the film not digital, and they somehow managed to get that footage? How? There was no cameraman on the moon. When you look at it again, you go, okay, would it be possible in a dark studio to put some firecrackers beneath something and then winch it up quickly on a hoist? Yes. If I slow down or speed up, I think if you speed up the footage of the guys walking around, they look like guys just bouncing around like on Earth. But because they've slowed it down to a point, it looks like they're doing it under 1/6 of gravity, and it's all a little bit slower and their bounces are a little bit higher. Sometimes guys have fallen over in their spacesuits on the moon, and you see them getting yanked up by a cable on their back. It's like all of a sudden they stand back up again. It's like, how did you stand up like that? Oh, it's only 1/6 gravity. No, you were carrying like 200, 300 pounds of weight on your suit, which was manageable because you're in 1/6 gravity. But that still doesn't mean you can defy the normal kind of physics of the way that the body works, and then just immediately stand up without having to kind of work your way up like this. So there's so many things that kind of kill the dream, as it were.
And I just got one more question. So was the Cold War, that was like fake?
Yes. And I fought in a Cold War battle in Angola. So I'm You know, I'm sensitive to, you know, what the Cold War was. It affected a lot of people's lives. But the Cold War has been a way of controlling or giving this idea, this narrative, that there is them and us. Because when there's a them and us, you're willing to go, you know, think about high school football or whatever it is you played when you were a kid, you know. You're like, when there is them, you're willing to play that bit harder, you know. We're meeting, it's match day today, man, and we are going to play as hard as we can ever play. Why? Because we're playing against that school that's beaten us for the last 3 years on a row, and we're going to go in there and thrash them today. And you are sucked and pumped. You are headbutting the wall on your way out of the changing room.
What do the higher-ups gain from like keeping the flat Earth a secret?
Well, okay, think about it from a farmer's point of view, right? Let's say you're a farmer, and you got 50,000 acres of farmland, mountainous, hilly, forested, and so on, and you got goats and sheep. Now, are you going to let those goats and sheep just run around wherever they want on that 50,000 acres, or are you going to keep them in like 5-acre pens?
I see.
And that's what we are. We are cattle that are being kept in 5-acre pens so that we can be more easily controlled, and that we do not have the freedom to roam like those goats would prefer. And the sheep would prefer to be able to, I want to go there, let me go there. Nope, there's an electric fence, I can't go that way.
And they would stop you if you tried to go out farther beyond the...
Yeah, there's a thing called the Antarctic Treaty. So, are you American?
Yeah.
So Admiral Byrd, you may have heard of him. Well, he was like the most famous admiral in the American Navy in the 1950s, 40s, 30s, because he'd done all these explorations around the North Pole for about 10 years, and then they gave him a fleet and sent him down to Antarctica for 15 years. He had a battleship, he had an aircraft carrier, he had the works down there, right? There was no limit. And he comes back and says, I found land bigger than America that no man has ever seen. I found resources that will last mankind a lifetime. The next year, they signed the Antarctic Treaty. Russia, America, I don't think China at the time, but Sweden or South Africa. All the countries that are, if you look at this USGS map or the United Nations logo, which is the flat Earth conception of what the Earth might look like, all of the countries that are close to the edge of this, what we call the ice wall, all of them signed up to say, we will stop people from traveling 60 degrees south parallel. We got Navy in place to prevent any boats, to prevent any exploration. We won't let the oil companies in there. We won't let anyone do anything other than coring for like ice, looking after the penguins and taking a few wealthy people on vacation to a little peninsula and then send them back to America. And they typically from America, they'll go down the coast of South America, go into, I forget the name of the bay, they'll go into that area and they'll look around, spend a week or whatever, get some selfies, say they've been to the South Pole, and then come back again. But compasses don't work down there, they don't go that far. I mean, Admiral Byrd spent a few years taking fuel, like he'd fly fuel sort of a few hundred miles forward, and then come back, get more, and then fly a little bit further forward in relay, and then so putting like these fuel dumps. So he could get, I'm going to say 1,500 miles, but I'm not exactly sure anymore how far it was. He went from the coastline. And he said he found land bigger than the world, than America. His son released his diary. He was under NDA, non-disclosure type agreement, military secrets and all that sort of stuff, right? So he couldn't say necessarily everything that he saw, but he was on a Longines, which was a very famous TV show back in the day, on there telling people about what he found. Was that controlled information? Maybe. But his son, and this could be controlled too, but his son released his diary, and his diary claims to have met another race of people, civilization, far further ahead than we are. And they told him what was going on and what the story was and so on. So is that disinfo? Maybe. But also on a flat Earth, the possibility that there's more continents is definitely on the table. Whereas on the globe, we kind of think we've mapped it all, there's nothing else to find.
That's really fascinating. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Pleasure. All the best. Good luck. Hey guys, been a few conversations back to back there, and we've been sitting on the chair. Before we run out, probably put a bit more. Tape down. Oh, you can hire a deck chair for £4 an hour. That's an expensive sit down.
Fit for the toilet and back.
Alright.
Not on the floor.
You're the first one who's ever said that to me.
Well, always got to be the first one, but not on the floor for a spate. It'd be great. Thank you very much.
Can I check what rule are you invoking here?
So criminal damage, but I don't.
There's no damage. You know there's no damage. It's the same talk your teacher used in school.
I'm not going to get involved in an argument or debate.
No,
So
but
there's
you're telling me
bear
that
with me.
I've been
Bear
there
with
for
me.
years,
Bear with me. So
and
there's a
there's
stated
never been
case.
a
Bear
police
with
person
me.
who said I can't
Well,
do
I'm
it.
the first. So bear with me. So there's a stated case whereby someone was drawing in chalk on a pavement. I think it was in Paris, something like that.
Paris?
Could have been. You know, like they do in Paris. So someone was doing it in the UK, and they went to court, and it was raw criminal damage. I know it's just chalk. I'm not really bothered.
Yeah.
But please don't draw on it.
Yeah,
We have a great day.
Oh.
That's the
See that? See that? So annoying. Wait till she's gone. Criminal damage. It's so overreached. And then citing something in Paris. Wait for it to disappear. What a flyer that you might find this one.
I'm changing your name to Israel. So where does Palestine come from? Italy, Italian.
I'm telling you that you can't do this and blah blah blah.
Are you Roman?
Is this your table, brother?
Well, why do you steal?
Flat Earth is biblical. Did you know that? God set the earth upon pillars. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So how can we live on a globe?
Well,
Psalms 19:1. Psalms 19:1. God creates a firmament.
yeah, that's right.
Yes. And on the sun, on day 4, He creates the sun and the moon for night and day. Yes. But the science will tell us that we come from monkeys and that the sun comes before the earth.
Absolutely.
All of this is lies designed to demean God and designed to demean God's creation. So I think that's important, my brother, that you tell people that we have to test the science, because the science was proven to be wrong in
I got a
2020.
group, I've been talking about that subject.
Yes?
Yeah, about the globes and all that, those kind of
Good,
lies.
good.
I got a good book, English fella gave it to me.
Okay.
I can have you one.
Yes, please.
Thank you, brother.
All right. So this, by the way, this is an app, app for your phone. It's very, very good with lots of great content.
Is this yours as well?
Yes, this is my friend in America. He put this together.
All right,
You can keep these.
Yeah, you leave them.
Thank you. All the best. Do a little flyering for me. Can I give you a flyer, ma'am?
I'm a Christian, so I'm not sure what is it.
Oh, if you're a Christian, you'll love this.
Yeah?
Yeah. You've read Genesis? So you know the creation story. You believe you came from apes? No. You believe the earth is a globe? One.
You're the flat earth guy, right?
Oh yeah. Well, no. The Bible is flat Earth. God created a place that we could live safely. The idea that we can live on the underside of a ball, that's made up by the same people who gave us evolution.
I'm not into, that's not, to me, that's
Not important?
not important.
So God's word is not important to you?
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
Jesus
So-
Christ. What about Jesus Christ?
Yeah, I think Jesus lived. I don't need him to have died for my sins, but I think that he lived.
You do need him. So you're passionate about that. I'm passionate about Jesus.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. But I mean, the thing is that
To me-
God is omnipotent, right?
To me, the world, all these other things are so minute in importance compared to your soul. You have a soul.
Yes. Well, you see on my flyer it says, "Free your heart, realize your sole purpose."
But you're saying that, but you have never had your soul regenerated by the power of God.
Yes,
so
I have. Yes, I have. God.
you can't without.
But I don't need Jesus for God.
Well, you can't have your soul regenerated without Christ.
So here's
something
my
else,
okay.
something
Well, here's
else
my
happened.
here's my parting thing for you. Is that God is omnipotent,
Okay.
and yet has created a world in which only 20 or 30% of God's creation believe what you believe. So 60 to 70%.
So does that make it not true because the majority doesn't believe it?
Because God wrote the truth on our hearts, not in the Bible.
How do we know that God doesn't reach out to those people that don't believe and they just reject Him?
I think there are billions of good people on the world that are not Christian.
Yeah.
And I do not castigate them or judge them or say that they are somehow failing in God's eyes because they do not hold to a belief.
Well, that's between them and God. I believe God's big enough and good enough to reach all those people without me having to know about it.
But we needed the printing press.
I've read a lot of stories that people talk about God appearing to them, speaking to them all over the world, in the jungles of Borneo.
Like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. You know, all of these people could not have received that word of God or the word of Jesus.
Well, it still doesn't make it not true. If God is God and He set up the plan, He's got to figure it out. Just because you can't figure it out or I can't figure it out.
But
It
God
doesn't
created
bother
us.
me. Because it doesn't bother me because I know what God did for me and the power and I know He's real. So I'm going to leave that up to Him.
You think that it has to be a male? God has to be male?
He's spirit. I don't.
Yeah, so because we often use the term he.
Father,
And I think we
like
live in
Father
quite a,
God.
you know, like the Catholic Church is quite a patriarchal system.
It's a system, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't follow the Catholic Church. They've taken some of the Bible, but they leave out and they change what they want to change.
So for me, like coming through, because I was Christian, studied Christianity. In fact, as a child, I could see that the Bible is a flat Earth book. I used to joke about it as a kid. Like, this is so many references to a flat, unmoving Earth, rather than this globe spinning and all of that evolution stuff. However, I went along with the mainstream and bought into this stuff. But I think that what was I gonna offer you? That no, I think that you know, God created us in God's image. Right? So I believe that when I look in the mirror, I'm looking at something created in the image of God. Same is true for you.
Right, yeah. We don't know the extent of that, but we will one day, yeah.
So, now, I mean, image could be read as imagination or mind of God, you know, but I prefer
in the sense that we can think, we can reason, we can make decisions, we can, like, unlike an animal that, you know, it has instincts.
Yeah, we have a consciousness or a God consciousness within us that was only given to us by God and by God's intention. So what I thought about was that Jesus says, "You will go on and do greater things than I," and then he says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to God but through me." So I believe that if I'm looking in the mirror and I'm looking into the image of God and I repeat those words, then I'm saying to myself, I cannot get to God but through me. I cannot get to God through the Vatican. I cannot get through an imam. I cannot get through a preacher. I cannot get through you. Or anyone.
But Jesus was saying it has to be through him. You're leaving him out though.
Yeah, well, that's the only point that I differ with mainstream Christianity is that I think that Jesus was trying to empower us, not say, no, you need me. Without me, you are and like the Jews are waiting for him to come, the Messiah, and Christians are waiting for him to come again, and so on. And I say, no, you save yourself now, in the now. You save yourself.
You know why I believe what I believe is because I read the scripture every day, and God just teaches me every day a little bit.
Awesome.
I comprehend some stuff I don't comprehend. But so when someone says something to me, or when I think something, I'm comparing it to what it is that I've seen God do, what I've heard God say.
Yeah.
That's the authority for me.
Yeah.
And you've picked and choose different things to be your authority. I've chosen just the Word of God to be my authority. And then
the problem is in our world today is that religion is one of the most divisive things, and I come here quite often, and so I see right up front here the enmity or the division between groups who believe one thing and groups who believe a different thing.
Well, because that makes sense though, because there's light, there's darkness, there's God, and there's Satan, and so they're not ever going to be on the same side.
Yeah. So, but what if this is Satan's world, like it says in the Bible, that there's 1,000 years reign of Satan, right?
And not yet, yeah.
Yeah,
not
well,
yet.
maybe.
Yeah.
How do we know?
But how are we
because the greatest tricks that Satan could do was to hide himself inside of the Vatican or inside of government or inside
of... he's busy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He's busy.
Yeah.
And so now we have a chance to decide that we shouldn't waste it, We should hear everything God has to say and make a choice now while we have a chance.
Yeah. Now, in religion, in Christianity, there are thousands of denominations of the Christian religion itself. So aside from the Islamic, Jewish, Abrahamic
Right,
trio,
Baptist,
you got
Presbyterian, Methodist,
Seventh Day.
I just stick to the Bible.
And every time I meet a group, oftentimes they'll go, we're the ones, whether it's the Hebrew Israelites or the Seventh-day Adventists or the what are they, Plymouth Brethren.
What? When we get to heaven, we're going to all find out where we were wrong.
Yeah.
All of us are wrong in some way,
Yeah. Well,
but
me,
you know what? I don't think God doesn't have a problem with that. He's going to sort us out.
Yeah. Well, I was an atheist, right? And I had a near-death experience 10 years ago, and so that was what brought me to God. Was because the first words I could speak when I came back was, "It's true, there is a God." I was 47, had been an atheist, and I got my butt kicked. And I am so in love with the idea of our Creator being this loving essence. But what I see in the world is us hating on God's creation because they look a different color, they come from a different part of the world, or they believe in a different deity or something.
So what happened to you is God gave you a sense of His reality, but you got distracted and you're looking back at man instead of at God. Because you got to go one more step. Because it says even the devil believes in God. So it's not good enough just to have that revelation that yes, there is a God and I'm not an atheist anymore. You think Satan is going to be with God for eternity in heaven? No, just because he believes. So you believe. But you got to take the next step and surrender. Let Him be your authority, your Lord, your Savior. Let Him forgive you of your sins.
Okay. So, would you consider that God is everything?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I believe
like the Muslims will say Allah, which means all. Really, in my mind, it means all. So I wanted to just leave you on this thought, was that I think that God is both light and dark. I think that God has the night and the day, the winter and the summer. I think that Satan is the opponent. It used to be pronounced Satan, which meant opponent. I think that in a hot and cold system, you need opposites to create that sense of hot and cold. You need the opponent. It's almost like God set himself a challenge to kind of come and have this experience. But if this experience is made too easy, if I said to you, you want to be a mountain climber, but all you need to do is climb over this 100-meter hill, you'd say that's hardly going to test me, right? I need a real mountain.
That's why the mountain is so huge.
Yeah.
That's why it's a miracle. The mountain is to come to God through Jesus Christ. That's the mountain, and that's the stumbling. People will believe in God, but they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to believe in Jesus Christ as the Savior. That's the stumbling block.
Yeah.
If you read the New Testament, you'll see that over and over again. That's what the Jews stumbled over. They didn't stumble over the law. They didn't stumble over Moses. They didn't stumble. They stumbled over Jesus, and He is that. That's what makes all the division on the earth. Either we come through Christ or we try to find another way. All these other religions are other ways to try to get to God.
Awesome.
So,
Well, thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah,
I
you
appreciate
too.
that. Would you still like us not to have a flyer?
okay, sure, why not?
Have a nice day. That was easy.
I have to be sleeping
like Chris calm, whereas the other ones on the pedestal are like.
Third eye, you might like this. In fact,
flat Earth.
in fact,
Why not?
We've used
Why
everything
not?
else today.
Why not, eh?
I think we're
And
electromagnetic.
what else? Oh, great.
We're
Okay.
electromagnetic. Are you Scottish?
Yeah. Are you Australian?
South African.
South African. I knew there was something in there.
Yeah. I used to read Oorwille and the Bruins.
Oorwille, did you?
I used to get Scottish friends of ours used to send us the annual every year when I was a kid. So
So you know my town well. That's where he's from. He's from Dundee.
Oh, okay.
That's where we're from.
Oh, okay.
That's where he was written.
Oh, wow. Well, no wonder you immediately knew
I know
that.
who you mean. Don't worry. That Desperate Dan and all that. Yep, I know.
Okay, awesome. Well, lovely to meet you.
You too. Enjoy your flat Earth.
Thank you. We enjoy your...
We are all enjoying it.
Yeah, you're all enjoying it.
We're all enjoying this
Even if
flat
you
Earth.
think you're spinning.
Even if we think we are, we're not.
Yeah.
We're just on our little frisbee getting flipped
No,
through the air.
don't get lost in that disinfo.
No.
No frisbee.
No, okay.
No one who studies
Just
flat
a,
Earth.
just a plate. Oh.
In nature, we see a lot of spheres, right? Like oranges, apples, onions, all of that sort of thing, yeah? But in nature, you'll never find an example of anything that's growing outside of its skin,
Okay.
or its bark,
Okay.
or its peel, or its shell.
Okay.
Everything is contained within a shell.
Okay.
So our Earth, following the natural order, must be contained.
Okay.
So I would say that we're inside of what might be a globe, but not a globe of rock, a globe of electromagnetism, the torus.
Yeah. Okay.
And in the center of the torus, or in the center of your apple, you get the only piece of the apple that's hard. It's called seeds, at the core.
Yeah.
So I believe we're standing on the core, on the seed of an electromagnetic apple.
Wow.
To use that analogy.
Okay.
Yeah. And that there is a skin to the apple that we cannot penetrate. There is atmosphere, which is water, above us.
Yeah.
And then there is heavier atmosphere or water below us. We call that sea level. And that's what we find in this world, is that heavy things settle whilst light things float. So in the middle of your apple, instead of just having apple fruit all around you in one context, you've got sea water, lake water, and you've got air or atmosphere that gets thinner and thinner to the top of this place.
So now you believe in that the Earth is flat. How does that change your life or your perspective on things?
Well, for one, it means that Russia and America are not enemies.
Why does that matter to you?
Well, because our world has been put into 2 world wars so far against Russia, Germany, blah, blah, blah. We've got a 3rd world war looming. I don't know if you're aware of that. But 3rd world war is in the offing, and if it's not happened within 5 years, come back to me and say you were wrong. But I believe that in the next 5 years, we will be so close
Russia
to it.
and America are closer together on the flat.
At the very top table, this NASA, JAXA, ESA, Roscov or whatever they're called, the Russian space agency, are working together. That means that their agencies at the very top table are colluding to create financial hardship, warfare, food shortages, oil shortages, gas pipeline explosions, to create more expense and more hardship for us. When we're meant to be inheritors of this place. There's the creator, and then there's us. However, in this world, we have the creation, or earth, then there's government, and then at the very bottom of the table, there's us. Government
Do you believe in a faith, in a religion?
No, but government allowed. People are so controlled by government now that in 2020 they said if your nan gets a cough, she could kill you. Yeah? And people believed that shit. Yeah, people really believe that shit, but there was not one flat earther who believed that shit from day one. I was going around towns in this country saying, I think they're hoaxing us. And that was in the early days, in the first 3 weeks. I was saying, I think there's something wrong with this. I didn't want to say too much because it was like too early. But within a year, people were going, oh, damn, this is wrong. And now 3-4 years later, people are saying, hey, that needle you put in my arm is making me really sick. My nan got turbo cancer. My young cousin, he's 40 years old. All of a sudden, he dies with a heart condition that he was super fit. Now, so there's so many elements of our world, whether it be banking, government, education, history, science, all of these things are being controlled by this. So if I said I'd stripped you of your ability to critically think and implanted a program of mind control into you at the age of 10 years, by the age of 10 years old, I could reset that.
Yeah, I believe in that.
By coming through this gateway.
He's the only one that's getting us so far.
That's what the school system is all about, isn't it? I mean, and that you put in a classroom, like children should be out learning, playing. Like I get all that, but I don't know if I believe it's flat.
That's okay.
But you can't believe in everything else you're saying. Like government are controlling everything.
You can't walk away from one conversation with someone like me and go, you know what? That brainwashing is gone now. It takes a year, or maybe less, but it takes it took me almost a year in total to kind of get to the point where it's like, damn, it's definitely not a globe. I'm not buying that gravity, I'm not buying relativity, I'm not buying all those theories, evolution, I'm not buying any of that stuff anymore. I used to. I raised my oldest children on those theories.
You don't believe in evolution?
Not anymore.
What do you believe in?
Creation.
By
a creator.
Who is that?
Don't know.
So you.
But I was an atheist.
The Anunnaki?
I was no. That's also made up bullshit.
I'm joking.
But although there's a meaning for the word Anunnaki that is interesting, so it's not like I won't throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. However, I was an atheist up until age 47, and then I came into contact with ayahuasca, DMT. Actually, I smoked it, and 7 minutes later, I was no longer an atheist. My first words, age 47, when my dying mother 4 years before had not get me, I was like, there's nothing after this, Mom. In 2011. 2015, 7 minutes later, first words out of my mouth were, it's true, there is a God. Whatever that God is, I cannot name it, I cannot draw you a picture of it. Is it a man? I doubt it. Is it a loving, omnipotent entity? Yes. And I was
what
connected
we've been trying to say today. Like,
this is the only guy in our lane.
This is. I saw my higher self. My higher self was an eternal being that was unquenchable by anything on earth. There was no harm could come to that by any atom bomb, or if they were real, anything on earth could harm my higher self. And each of us, I knew, each of us are connected intrinsically. Like we're in some sort of fish tank together, and even though the water's separating me, we're actually connected. And we're connected to the same source eventually, whether it's through my higher self, up the chain to whatever we call God. I don't know. But I was immersed for 7 minutes in a place of love that was beyond a scale that even my mother could bestow on me. And I was given information during that time that blew my mind. It was like, I've done mushrooms, acids, ecstasy, I've done all of that in my party days. There was none of that. Nothing I'd ever heard had prepared me for what I experienced in those 7 minutes. And I came back like, wow, I am something. So I try and take care of myself. I'm not a purist. I enjoy the odd bit of this and a bit of that, but at the same time I do try and take care of myself in the main, because I know that I'm a representative of something magnificent. And you could call that God, but I genuinely believe that I didn't actually communicate directly to whatever God is. I was communicating with my higher self. And each of us have a higher self. And it may be that that higher self sends avatars, maybe more than one at a time. You know, there could be hundreds right now on Earth from the same source avatar, but or maybe only one at a time. I don't know. I've just
I like
had
that
to
you
think
say
about
you don't have all the answers, you don't exactly know, but
yeah, I have an open mind about that, but what I'm willing to acknowledge now is that I was completely wrong about atheism, that this didn't come from a big bang, that you can't throw an explosive device into a scrapyard and a Ferrari drive out the other side. Now, you are far better made than a Ferrari. No explosion in a lab is going to bring life. You know, they can't even create water in a lab. They've never been able to grow anything new in a lab. You know, they can take a culture and get it to grow itself, but they can't make anything new. We were never allowed, it never came that we just seeded from snakes and fish to monkeys and marsupials and then man. All bollocks. And I promise you, I used to push that shit down everybody that I could speak to throat. And it's all bullshit. All made up to demean you and then whatever the creator is. And I think religion plays its own part in that demeaning. So I don't have a religion to offer. I think that we are meant to be our own religion. We are our own master. You do not need someone else to save you. You can only say, if you're an alcoholic, only you can stop that alcoholism. There's a verse in the Bible I like, which is that the truth is written on your heart. You do not need a book. You know when you put your head down on the pillow, am I being a good man?
Yeah, that what should be the main purpose of life, and just as long as you're a good person.
A good person, yeah. But if I'm telling you that your girlfriend, I saw her with another bloke last night, no. Why are you telling me? I don't want to know that. Well, there's something detrimental going on that you need to know about. And I'm coming and saying there's something, and I was 47 and still believed in the globe. So I went through most of my adult life at this point believing in that. And having come through that, I know how important it is for you to walk through that gate. It does mean that everything else has... Flat Earth is just an entrance. I call it like a gateway truth. That you walk through this gateway and then have to relearn everything about our history, about who we are and what we are, and I think it really matters, which is why I take out my Sunday. I've got a 7-year-old boy, never been vaccinated, no birth certificate, none of that shit, right? And I
secret child.
Well, not secret, because he has a passport.
Oh, okay,
He has a passport.
Okay.
You're allowed a passport, you don't have to have a birth certificate.
Okay.
But you need to look into that to understand how you do that and how you say, no, I do not want vitamin K. I do not want this. I do not want those things. This is my choice. I am the parent. But we've given away so much power that they say, oh, no, we think this is best because 1 in 10,000 babies have a brain problem. So you'll take this needle and we'll stick it in your child's foot or their arm or whatever. No. I'll educate him myself, thank you very much. And when he needs special tutoring on music or math or whatever, then I'll get a tutor because it's beyond what I can do for him. But anyway, the point is that I would rather be with my son on a day like today, but this is such an important message. I take out my time to come and share it with people.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, amazing.
I will say you are probably the one that's made the most sense.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd say that out of a flat earther, but you know.
Well, I've had other people say that to me before. They've been like, I've been around all the people.
In the DMT lane and other things, like I smoked a bit of DMT, and I will say, like, not as heavy as you. Like I wasn't in there for 7 minutes. I only done a little bit, sent me a bit back, and I came out the other end agnostic.
Really?
So I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You know, I was like way on that, and then like there is something in what you say. Like I started taking better care of myself. I started like understanding that I did have like I could speak to my higher self, which is just my future self, and like get her impart wisdom on me now, and then be able to.
Yeah.
So I agree with loads of what you're saying in like the DMT lane and the spiritual lane and like the different planes and stuff, but maybe it'll take me a little minute extra to get my head around the flat earth of it all, but you know,
well, you know
I appreciate you talking to us.
Thank you. When you go and search flat earth in Google and stuff, what you get in this day and age is mostly debunking videos. So you look at them and you go, as I did in the early days, like, nah, that makes no sense, I'm not going to look any further. And then after I'd done the DMT in 2015, I was like, damn, I'm going back to look at that flat earth stuff now, because all of a sudden everything is electromagnetic. It's not material like I believed it was. It's all light, it's all vibration, it's all frequency. And it's only us interpreting that frequency as human, bicycle, tarmac, and so on. And that was why I was willing to go and review what I'd learned. But today it's very difficult to get decent content. So this friend of mine has put together an app.
Yeah.
Which
I just want to be in that like video.
this This friend of mine has put together an app.
Oh, you're giving me this?
Yeah, it's a
Sorry,
£3.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
£3 app, and it's got the best content that you can find. You've got to watch it. You've got to make your own mind up. I loved your third eye. I thought that was worth connecting to. The pineal gland, very important.
I don't think that much.
You understand the pineal gland? I believe the
Yeah.
pineal is your connection to source, your connection to the higher.
Egyptians, I believe in all that.
And you know about the fluoride in the water then?
I use fluoride-free toothpaste.
Good.
I actually do. Yeah.
Good. That's a good start. Do you drink the water though?
I have to drink water to survive, unfortunately.
But you can distill the water.
I could if I had the means, which I could get around, but you know,
Yeah,
sometimes
just sort
life
of-
gets in the way of
I
these
know.
things. Do you know what I mean?
Just give me some tap
Yeah, give me the fucking, get it out the tap. I'm not that bothered.
Yeah.
I'll take the precautions in the toothpaste, but not the water, you know.
So just so you know, you can get a 4-litre countertop distiller for about £120, something
Yeah.
like that, and it'll cost you less than buying bottled water to distill the water. And when you see the crap that's in the water, aside from the fluoride, because the fluoride in the water is what is calcifying the pineal, just so you know. But for your own general well-being, I would highly recommend distillation of water.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice to talk to you.
You too.
All the best.
Yeah.
All the
Thank
best.
you.
Cool. Cheers.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
New Age. How are you doing? Good to see you, man.
Good. Yes, sir.
I will come there.
Yeah, we'll see you
We're
in a
going
bit.
to talk. See you in a minute, yeah?
See you in a bit.
Good to see you. Let me get
man, I
one.
know the shape, man.
Let me get one.
Awesome.
Baptized in the name of the Father and of the Son. Show me. It's not there. No, read it. No, read it. No.
Guys, if you want to support what I'm doing, feel free to PayPal and coffees and all that. We are planning to come out
You could know the order of the day. Only through the bloodline, you could know the order of the day. Look, that's why you have the biggest scammers available, the biggest scammers around town. Again, it's big scammers though. That's what I'm saying. All of that is done. All of that is done.
Thank you.
All of that Islamic scamming is done. All of that European
Give me a
scamming is
flyer,
done.
sir. Some information to take home with me. Thank you. Remember that policewoman who rode with me a minute ago? When she walked away from me, she came over this way. Let's see if, I think she might have seen my other artwork here. So yeah, apparently in France or something, she was using some French example. Hey, I see Sun and Moon Family United. How are you, my friend? Love to see you. Keep on sailing. I'm pretty sure it's moving, yeah. I'll tell you what it's moving. I don't know if it's moving.
The thing is, God is a religion, so religion is man-made. That's
You've come to give us a story to a people much older than you. And telling them, no, Jesus is the way. Oh,
I've got some information for you, sir.
Don't
Free your
listen
mind.
to the flat earthers, guys. Don't listen to the flat earthers.
You listen to the flat earthers. The
So,
earth
ladies
is
and
definitely flat and
So,
not
ladies
spinning.
and gentlemen.
The earth is not spinning, friends. We can't prove it. We can't prove it. We can't prove it. The Bible says the earth is flat and unmoving.
It's being made.
Earth is flat.
The argument is being made, ladies and gentlemen.
Shows what is it?
All these people.
Only the government will brainwash you to believe you live on a monkey ball. Want some information?
Flat Earth.
Yes,
hey, I
brother.
need you to meet my wife, bro.
Oh.
We're both flat earthers.
Yeah.
Are you over there with the
Yeah,
poster?
with the banner, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go preach there, bro.
Okay.
I wanted to yell out.
All right.
Yeah, my wife is sitting there.
My name is Dave.
We're from US.
You want to ask me about this? 10 years ago, I discovered that we are not living on a spinning ball. Scientifically, we cannot prove that water is going to curve around a ball, and there is no scientific experiment to prove that we are spinning. In the Bible, it says that God created the sun on the day 4, not the way that science tells you that the sun comes first. The sun and the moon are for lights for day and night, and they travel overhead of us, and they only illuminate half of the earth at any one given time. So you've got 12 hours of daytime, 12 hours of nighttime, 12 hours of daytime, and so it goes around. You see this on my chest here, this badge. This is the same logo that the United Nations use, the same logo that the flat earth map looks like, is that we can sail around this flat earth because water, ma'am, is always going to be level. So we shrunk the earth down to a small swimming pool, and we put some rocks inside of that swimming pool and a compass or a magnet in the center. We can sail our boats and fly our ships in exactly the same way as it works on the flat earth. The globe, it belongs to the government and it belongs to the deceivers. We are not evolved. God created this place, Psalms 19:1, with a firmament, with a roof. And God looks down on the people of the earth because it's all on one tabletop. It's all tabletop flat. Mountains, yes. But the sea level, say you travel from east coast of Africa to the west coast of Africa, you're going to travel up to 1,000 meters of elevation, and then you're going to travel down 1,000 meters of elevation. Same sea level, east coast and west coast. So I've got information there. If you want, there's a fantastic app that can help you find all the best information on this. But it's a deception on mankind to take away our power. To steal our power, to make government more powerful than us, or to make religion actually more powerful than us. But we are God's creation. There should be no master above you. You are your own master. You are your own savior in a way.
No, I don't believe that.
Are you a Christian?
Yes.
So yeah, well, I think that we're meant to be. If at the end of the day, if I'm going to steal or do harmful things, that's on me. You see, I'm the only one that's going to stop me from doing that. Or take alcoholism. If I'm alcoholic, only one person is going to stop me from being alcoholic. That's me.
Yourself.
Yes, yourself. You can say, oh, you prayed a lot and have you, but it was you at the end of the day, because there's lots of good Christians who pray, I want to stop this alcohol, I want to stop this alcohol, but they cannot. Until the truth is written on your heart. And until you find that truth, you will not stop the alcohol problem. And only you can find that for you. You can go to church 7 times a week. You're not going to solve the problem until you fix it.
I believe when I know God has changed me, when I read the Bible, that's transformed me.
Yes. God, I'm with you, because we have a God. I know there's God. God is real. God is love.
Which one?
Huh? Which one?
Yeah.
What's this? A torus field? Is that God?
Yeah, electromagnetic.
Is that God?
It's not. Well, it's all electromagnetic. We are electromagnets inside an electromagnetic system.
Sorry.
This is my wife.
Hi.
Sorry,
Did you want anything?
No, I can't accept it because I'm believing God. So
Me too. This is all about God. But this is to give God the most power.
Can you quote the Bible scriptures? The earth takes shape like clay under a sea.
Well, in the Bible, there's the verses in Genesis that said God created the earth unmoving, and He created in Psalms 19:1 a firmament to close it in, and then He said it separated the waters from the waters. So we believe that there might be water above us. There's certainly water below. We can't go into the sea. Yes, maybe 10 meters, but we can't really go into the sea. So the waters are separated from waters, and here in this place where there's atmosphere is the perfect environment, habitat for us to live and be thriving. Yes? So this is the place that God created for us. Did not create a big bang. He did not throw an explosion into a scrapyard and expect for a plane or a Ferrari to drive out the other side. No, God designed you perfect in God's image. This is what the Bible says. It also says that in Genesis, it says that on day 1, He saw the earth and was without form and void. But on day 4, He brings the sun. But in this science that you believe, the sun comes 4 billion years before the earth. All made up, all not true. And if you believe stuff that's not true, you are not honoring God. We have the same God, we have the same blood, we have the same creator. I do not make a distinction between Muslim, African, whatever. We are all of the same source.
God said, let there be light before he created the sun on the fourth day. So what was the light before the sun? He said, let there be light. And then on the fourth day, which day did he create the light?
I think day 3 is maybe.
It was before.
Yeah, before. Because the animal, and there was the sun on day 4.
Let there be light.
It was dark when
And God said he created 2 great lights. The moon and the sun.
Yes.
Why does science say the sun reflects off the moon, but God says it's 2 different lights? He created 2 great lights.
Even in Islam, they say that the sun and the moon are lights that travel over the earth.
You can see them in the sky at the same time sometimes.
There's a lot of information.
This morning I saw the quarter moon.
I see it all the time.
I saw the quarter moon until 10 o'clock.
It's a moonlight. It's its own light.
Yeah. Cold light.
Different temperature.
Cold light. We've proven that the moonlight is cold. These things are all demeaning. That's why, let me tell you, if your husband was lying to you about where he was last night, and I was coming to you and saying, he's lying to you about it, I saw where he was with another lady. And you know, that doesn't matter. I still love my husband. I'd say, no, you need to hear my truth, sister. Because the lie that he's telling you is to your detriment. Yes, it's to your detriment. Otherwise, they wouldn't lie. He wouldn't lie. He said, no, I was with my auntie, my mother, and there's nothing to hide. The same as the astronauts who landed on the moon. A man offered them $5,000 for a charity of their choice. Put your hand on the Bible, swear that you went to the moon. 10 of those 12 first astronauts to go on the moon, they all said no. He never spoke to the other 2. He only asked 10. And all of them said, no, I will not do it. But if I came to you and said, ma'am, I've got a Bible here, swear to me you went to Speaker's Corner on Sunday, I'll give you $5,000 for a charity. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it for any book.
So is it you mean that they give money, they take money for being Christian? Is that what you mean?
Take money?
Yeah, for being Christian.
We are life energy is stolen from us. Yes, through taxation, through wars, through making us slaves. Yes.
I believe that can be happen. I don't know, but I believe when you experience the love of God. For me, I experience His love, and I experience the way He transformed me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so believing in His Bible.
Awesome. Well, I'm not saying don't believe in the Bible. I'm just saying that God has sent me to come and say, you are being lied to. You are being lied to by the people who run the world. That's all I want to put on your table today. I cannot convince you that it's not a globe. That's going to be up to you to work on that for yourself.
What's the name of this God?
Same God as yours.
Jesus.
Your God. Now Jesus is the Son of God.
Jesus is the Son of God.
Yes, Jesus is not God. Some people say it's God, but then I say that God created you in God's image, so you are God too. You are God too, because God created you in God's image, so you are the creation of God. Same with Jesus was the creation of God.
Downhill now, isn't it? Went too far. Saying your God's going too far, right?
My God is going too
No,
far.
saying that you are God, he said. That's going too far?
Yeah, because the Bible says God created us.
God's separate from his creation.
In his own image. But we not, he just created us in his own image, but we are not God.
No, okay. So when you look in the mirror, you're looking into something created in the image of God.
Yeah.
So we're talking scale here. Obviously the God that we're talking about is everything, and you are a fractal, a tiny element of that. You are not all of that, but you are the expression of God. You are the emanation of God. You are the product of God. Like your child is the product of you, well, you are the product of God. And so I put you on a pedestal up here, but I don't put anyone else higher than you. Not on earth. No one higher than you. So it's you, God.
Yeah, it's me, God. But
that's it. But you are still that product, the product of God, and so was Jesus, and so was Muhammad, peace be upon him. We are all product of God. But there are great teachers in the world and people who come with great messages. And Jesus said, you will go and do greater things than I. Jesus said that. You will go and do greater things than I. So how is that possible if you are not like him?
Right.
Shake my hand, man.
The Lord has seen the Father.
Have a good life.
There's a divine aspect.
Hey, man.
So you're like syncretic, yeah?
Yeah, a bit.
Syncretism?
Yeah, a bit of
Familiar
that.
with syncretism?
Santos Bernardi.
Yeah. I stayed out at his little school he had in Mexico for a while.
You did?
I was working there with him. Yeah. Is a lot of it coming from that? Or you can't do teachings elsewhere?
I mean, I listened to quite a lot in my early days in 2015, 16. I did listen quite a bit of Santos.
Yeah.
But then I kind of lost.
Oh, he's angry.
Yeah,
he's like a toddler.
Well, he came across eventually. It was like, this guy's very angry. I wrote to him one time, I think 2016, and it's like, this is not a guy who is full of the love of whatever creation is and stuff. And I think that comes out in some of the stuff he says. Genius guy, but at the same time, also not necessarily like the answer to everything or got everything right. So I have taken some great stuff from him, but I really try and keep my own counsel in terms of what I think about how this world is. I went off and studied quantum physics in 2019 to try.
How did you find the torus field? Is that through quantum physics?
Yes. That it was.
You see the torus as the atom?
No, I think that, I don't believe in the atom anymore. So what they're doing with the atom is to create like that torus thing. And of course the atom is kind of like, if I can be crude and say, it's like a little fleck of dust in the middle of a vast amount of this electron-proton kind of soup. Well, when you study quantum physics, they'll say, well, look, this torus-shaped, they don't call it torus-shaped, but this shape here is where we predict the electrons to be 97% of the time. But they're not in one place. They're going to be in all of these places. You know what I mean? We're going to find here. We can never pin it down. We can never take a photo of it or any of these sorts of things. So I got to a point where I was realizing actually, because I was listening to the best professors in the UK, around the world, talk on, give lectures in universities and listening to them and going, damn, if these guys knew how I see the world and they applied this science to that understanding, it would make a lot more sense to them. So I got to this idea that no, everything is a soup. We're inside of like a jelly, if you like, and inside of that jelly,
not a torus.
Well, yeah, torus, but inside of that torus is like a fish tank. Think of the fish tank analogy. Like we're inside of we're never outside of the water, as it were. We're never outside of connection to the electromagnetic all that is. As you move through this space. So you just move your position inside of the electromagnetic swimming pool or the electromagnetic fish tank. I see it all as electromagnetic. By the way, and I see some of your tattoos, so I don't know whether you've done DMT or ayahuasca.
Yeah.
That was my gateway, for me was DMT. In 2015, I took DMT and I was an atheist. And what I saw in that experience in 7 minutes was that everything was light and vibration. Everything was just humming and vibrating. The trees, everything in my environment was turned to light and frequency.
And it's all one thing.
And it's all connected. It's almost like a 2D it felt like I was in some sort of 2D environment. And it's all connected. So this was the first time I was willing to go back and look at flat Earth because I was like, nothing is what I believed it was. I'm willing to even look at the crazy stuff like flat Earth.
Yeah.
That was my thing. But we're sorry that the thing bombed in Mexico.
Oh, mate, that was weird, man. That was weird. Like I literally, mate. I was there when it all started to fall apart. I was sort of like, in a way, nominated to be the one leading like this intervention to try and like resolve all the madness that was going on and like crazy, mate, crazy. But yeah, I think Santos is doing all right now.
Yes,
I think. Last I heard from him, he was leveling out. There was a people call him like a plant or an agent. Daniel, did you see?
Yeah, that young guy.
Yeah. He was dosing him up on Valiums, getting him drunk, feeding him meat, feeding him cheese. And obviously Santos is, supposedly a vegan, but he was getting drunk, he was taking Valiums, taking Mazepams and stuff like that, because the 5G was attacking him, and this is what. But it was just somebody convincing him, like forcing him into this state of fear. And then,
I saw him one time put his arm around Daniel and saying, "This is the best friend I've ever had." I saw him say that, and I was like, "Dude, that's going to come back and haunt you, I think."
I saw Santos. I saw him crying, looking at me in the eyes, crying his eyes out. With Daniel sat beside him, and he's like, "Daniel would never lie to me. He would never lie to me." Tears flooding down his face. And I was like, "Guys, I'm out. Like, I've said my piece. I'm out now. Like, all the best." It was like that was some sort of manipulation or control that was beyond my A grade or whatever you want to say. Like, I didn't want to get any further involved with that, you know.
Well,
I made it clear to Daniel the first day I met him. I made it very clear. I said, "Mate, you're off key. You're not in alignment."
He didn't seem the right energy. I was like, how did this guy get his way in there? You know? Given, I mean, as I say, I started watching Censorship maybe 2014, 15. And as he sort of came into Flat Earth, I was also just working it out for myself. And so I did listen to him quite a bit, but I just thought, wow, how is this guy, Daniel, who seems like a newbie, never heard of him before.
He knew nothing about astrology. Like he knew nothing about yoga.
But he had a very silver tongue, he was glib, and he was able to put in place something with that, what do they call it, the Censorship school or whatever?
Yeah, the academy.
You know, he maybe initiated some things because of the experience with some of the NGOs or whatever he'd worked with before. He was able to bring skill set that perhaps is missing in our truther community.
But the skill set was to digitize Santos, to digitize, to get everything, because like he was hosting lectures and he was inviting everybody. But then Daniel would message all the individuals, "No, you can't come. It's at my house. You're not welcome." So it would just be Santos, a whiteboard, and a camera, and then Daniel would put it on this website and charge people for it. It was all wired up to Daniel's account. So he's trying to digitize Santos, monetize him, and then just leave him suffering. It didn't quite work out. My friend built the website.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he went off to Zanzibar, right?
Daniel.
Yeah.
Now, I'd left Mexico before Daniel had separated from Santos. But yeah. I have heard he went somewhere. I had a few messages from people out there that was like saying, "Look, it's leveling out. Santos' health is improving, and you know the parasite isn't attached anymore."
Because then I still heard Santos say, like, Daniel's gone out to Zanzibar or Tanzania or whatever, and he's going to set up another syncretism school. We're going to set up in a new location. That's what I heard him say. And so I was already super like thinking this is going to end badly. But so obviously nothing is coming back because I haven't really, you know, he lost his big channel, didn't he? Santos was speaking up to him. He went on a bit of a rant.
He says things that he doesn't need to say.
But I think he must have known at that point, because he's got 250,000 subscribers, he's only getting 3 or 5% of them watching anyway. So he's like, you know what, I could just blow this channel and just say everything I want. I'm going to lose the channel anyway. And whether it was some chemical thing or whatever, I don't know. But maybe there was intelligence behind it. He's like, I got this 250,000 subscribers and I don't need them because only 5% of them watch my stuff and they will come and find me again once I go off this channel. So he maybe thought that through. And he's like, this is my opportunity to just vent everything off my chest about the way that the world is and all the pedo stuff.
I mean, in theory, I didn't get to see these machines, right? By the time I got there, the guys who had created these machines had done one, but apparently they were curing cancer. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, a friend of mine.
They had these like Tesla coil-like machines.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Dave Weiss, he has this app.
Right,
He has this app. Sun and Moon app. He actually has one of them at his home, and he's treating himself. His hair's regrowing and stuff like that. So I've heard of
these guys vanish though. Do you know what I learned? Yeah, what appears when you get right to that end of things, if you get so far into this understanding of the nature of reality, you're swinging the pendulum too far. And that as the truth unveils, the covering of the truth steps up in its tempo as well.
Right.
So it's like mad shit happens, man. Like mad shit goes on. Like, stuff that you probably, well, maybe you would expect, but like people disappearing, people dying, people suffering. Like a lot seems to go on in those sort of
circles.
Yeah.
There's some weird and crazy shit, and some of it maybe we shouldn't be touching.
That's why I wonder sometimes, you know, when obviously it goes how it's supposed to go, right? But there does seem to be a way to push it further than it should, and then when it does go that far, then something comes along and boom. And you know, whether you want to call them the Freemasons or the Illuminati or whatever, it does appear that there is, from my understanding of things, it seems like there is some form of gatekeeping that is in a way righteous, you know?
I get you.
In a way.
I've sometimes speculated about this, that actually the masonry and the control of this system, and if there's other continents or other lands, the control of this is on purpose by people who, sometimes you used to say about Tim Peake, like, what did they say to him to get him to lie about going to space? You know, what is it he knows that if you knew, would it be something, if I came here and said, this is something that's going on here, that if you knew this, you'd be willing to lie to your family to protect them and to protect the human experience in its current form. Not because we're trying to keep you slaves like you all believe, not that we're trying to steal from you and blah, but because there is a journey that mankind is on, and we have to control the speed of that journey, so that we, and I sometimes say this using the Shawshank Redemption analogy, is that if you open the gates of Shawshank Prison today and let all the prisoners flee into the suburbs, they would cause mayhem. So there is perhaps a need to control the speed at which we come to this stuff, or even access technology the likes that you're hinting at.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. But if we you don't see many people down here with that sort of understanding of things.
But that's not saying.
No, because
not that speak anyway.
No, because we're very we kept it a very surface level understanding. So for me, I've always thought this is that because I've been doing street activism for 6 years on Flat Earth, and I've always wondered whether, am I actually aiding the system by trying to wake people up? Because maybe we're not meant to wake up to the reality of what this world is at this time, and maybe that time is still in the future. However, I believe that there is a creator, there is a God or whatever, and that.
But you don't separate yourself from that creator.
Not really, no. Actually, one of my previous flyers said, God is within you, and I couldn't bring myself to print it like this, but that you are God within God.
Because no one really
and it's hard,
the depths of
it's
what
really hard, it's really, I almost feel maybe I'm being kind of like, what's the word?
We want to call ourselves righteous, right?
I'm being bad for even suggesting such a thing, because so much is the programming that we cannot be
you'd rather just,
that important. You got to take, if you accept that, you got to take responsibility for everything.
Even
that means
die for that person, right?
That means if you are it, if you are the God,
not
the
showing
creator,
grandiose,
then
but that is showing
you're responsible for rape, for murder, for war, for the peaks of suffering. And people can't carry that weight, so they need Jesus who died for their sin. He takes the weight for them, or Allah or Muhammad. They need this external projection. I'm sort of alright with people finding that.
They want to interpret God as
if they need that. I will talk to them if they're leaning, if they ask the right questions. I will go down those sorts of paths. But I quite often point people at books if they're like, God this and God that, and they start to have this sort of awakening sort of experience. Like, oh mate, have you read this book? And they're like, what, the Quran or the Bible or whatever? See what that says. And then if they can just find that and be like, oh yeah, cool, saved. Then I'm happy with that. But I have some super close friends that I only send back to themselves. Direct them back to themselves as the authority.
As I say to people, the truth is written on your heart. And so at the end of the day, when you're lying, putting your head on the pillow, the thoughts you're having, you're communicating with yourself, your higher self, directly to God. I don't know, but I think we are meant to be our own masters, and the game doesn't work when we say, okay, well, we're going to be our own masters, and because we're generations down the line of not being our own masters, you need government and police, because otherwise we would be raping and pillaging, because we are not responsible for ourselves. We are
but I think only a few can be truly responsible for themselves. Right now, that's how my understanding is.
But we all, you know, we're all human and fallible. You know, we
Yeah.
all might, you know, cock up. We might do something, then we go, damn, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it might take us years to go, damn, I've been a bad boy, you know, I need to sort of right myself, you know, be the master of my own shit.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Sam. Dave. Dave. Cool, nice to meet you. So you say you work with DMT. You've had DMT. Have you had an ayahuasca experience?
No.
Does that interest you at all?
Yeah.
I work like every year. I work with a Peruvian elder that comes to the UK.
Really?
Yeah, with his team. It's very authentic Incan lineage, and it's a ritual, like ceremonial space that's created with live Icaros, they call them like mantras, prayers, songs, and instrumentals, and it's like a journey. It's full power. It's a full power experience. Yeah. Basically, the way I'm perceiving it after doing it quite a few times is that it's a journey to death and rebirth. Yes. But some people don't get to the dying part because they're not able to let go within that. It's 3 days. It runs for 3 days. Awesome. So it's 3 ceremonies, 3 nights in a row. Okay. And by the end of it, everyone's had a transformative experience. They've accepted themselves.
Awesome.
And,
well, I'd be interested in that. So.
Yeah. So it's coming up. It's the 10th of September to the 13th of September, I believe, is the only. I think that is because there's 3 retreats. He comes to host 3 retreats. They're sort of back to back, but I think there's only space on the final one.
Okay, 3 days. Yeah.
It's in Dorset. It's in a lovely manor house in Dorset.
Really?
Yeah, and we go out to the beach on like during the day on one of the days.
I was born in Dorset.
Oh yeah.
So it's a good place to go.
Whereabouts?
Cool.
Yeah, so I was living in Bournemouth not that long ago. Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, my oldest son went to Winton University, lived in Winton and in Bournemouth. So I've been spending a lot of time down there. Police recently just took my car while I was in Bournemouth because I didn't have insurance on it.
Okay, on purpose? Like you didn't have insurance on purpose?
Yeah, I was.
You're doing like the equity.
Sort of Freeman-y kind of.
Yeah, Freeman of the land. Yeah.
Sometimes I've got insurance now.
Yeah, it's just hassle.
So much bullshit. And of course, every time I drove my car, I was thinking, is there an ANPR camera waiting for me on the way?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happened to me when I was in Bournemouth. I was doing there's a social that happens once a month in Bournemouth called Flat Earth Bournemouth or whatever.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I can send you, if you can give me your contact details, or if you wouldn't mind emailing me.
Yeah.
Because not only am I interested, my wife would be interested, and I know 1 or 2 other people who might be right for seeing you have spaces.
I think there may be space for around 4 on the last one. I'm not 100% sure. But like I said, I don't organise it. I like a very close friend who's been flying to and from Peru for I think it's only around 6 or 7 years he's been working with these plants. But he went through the 12 steps, so he's overcome addiction from other substances, and he dove into this understanding of self and spirituality. And he's the link, he's the connection. And Gino is the name of the elder that comes over.
Okay.
67, I think he is. Okay. And he comes with his partner, his son, a couple of musicians. It's a really beautiful space they create. It's a space where you can feel safe to feel like your peaks of fear and your peaks of love and grief. You know, you get to go through that whole thing. Some people have metaphysical experiences. Yeah. That's the reason I started going to these things. Because I was like, what's behind it? What's behind it? What's behind this veil? You know, And then over time I realised, I had issues. So working with these medicines, it also becomes like some sort of therapy, as well as not just this sort of esoteric search for truth. It becomes like this deep dive into the nature of you. Which I guess is the search for truth.
Yes, because what is the meaning of life? discovery of ourselves. And all of this deception of religion, of science, and so on is to muddy the waters itself. And so that's why I come out and say this stuff, because it's like the gateway for me. Flat Earth is like a gateway to, well, I need to reevaluate everything and review everything again, from history to who I am and what I am. But if you email me, I will let you. The thing in Bournemouth. It's held on the last Tuesday of every month. They normally bring like a big speaker. Do you know allegedly Dave Murphy?
Yeah, so like
he's talking on Tuesday.
Do you know Rise Above? Have you heard of that podcast?
I have. Yeah,
Rise Above.
Yeah.
So that's my friend Lance. He lives near Paul. Lance Murdoch. So he did like a Circo speech during the 2020 lockdown stuff, and he got quite well known for that. So he. Yeah, have you got your own podcast and stuff?
I got my own YouTube account. I lost my YouTube account because I was doing too much seed activism. But my YouTube is that Trinity 4. Because the Trinity, I think we are the Trinity.
Yeah, I've got it here. I've got the Trinity on my forehead.
Yeah, so Trinity 4. And I will do a chat with your mate as well, but if he wants to. But certainly I'm interested in ceremony. If we can't make it this year for financial reasons, it'll be next year. But God willing, the finances will be.
So I just gave you a follow on Instagram. You'll see a little bit about what I'm doing and stuff too. But so I can tell you like the financial cost of it now, if you want to know. The retreat is. I'm pretty sure I can. I think it's $850, and what that. You're fed, you get this great food. They got a really good chef that comes each year, Elaine's her name. And but yeah, so you've got good accommodation, you're fed. You don't need to spend any money when you're there, obviously, and you get your 3 ceremonies. So pretty sure it's $850.
Okay, I won't hold you to the fire if it's not. We'll clarify that and we'll talk. We'll talk some more.
But it's it seems like a large amount. I get it. But obviously, once you, when you know the experience, I've every year I've been with them. Well, this is my 3rd year working with these specific people, and they host multiple retreats, and I'm at all of them when they come. So I've seen easily 100 people have a life-changing experience in 3 days. It's really cool. It's really cool, and it's life-changing in an individualistic way. Not everyone comes out with knowing this exact same thing, but they get propelled forward in their understanding of life.
In a profound way that is unique to them. Because when I did the DMT, as I said, I just come from atheism, so I had to do a lot of research, and I listened to a lot of people speaking near-death experiences, other people with ayahuasca, the spirit molecule, or God molecule, whatever.
Spirit molecule documentary.
All of that, I went and did as much as I could, and I realized that it's not a one-size-fits-all answer, but it's certainly something that I would recommend to everyone as they come of age to go, this is like a gateway that you step through to discover who you really are.
So how old were you, if you don't mind?
47.
47 when you moved from atheist to what do you call it? If you're not atheist, what's the word?
Noah.
Yeah.
You know, like they say Noah's flood? Well, I think that it's meant to be spelled Knower. Noah. You're meant to be a knower of
not a believer.
You know? And maybe the flood is like this flooding of new knowledge, new information. Although I study mud flood and stuff like that. Tartaria. I'm pretty certain. For 8 years, 7 years, I've been like looking at buildings and going, damn, this is underground.
You ever been able to replicate the that anointing that Santos talks about?
No.
The raising of the chrism.
Oh.
Claustrum, Santa Claus.
I'm interested in that. I've been fascinated by that since the first time I ever heard him talk about it. The 144,000 and all of that.
Jacob's ladder. The raising of the chrism from the root to the crown.
I've never been successful in that, and I haven't really, if I'm honest, sort of tried to diligently practice. I'm aware of like wasting semen and stuff, and I try not to be wasteful in that department. Certainly in my pre-DMT days, I was wasting a lot. when you're on porn, stuff like that, which I didn't touch now.
That's good.
All of that was cleaned away from me, you know. With the DMT.
Yeah, like a rebirth. Yeah, you're born free from sin. Like, well, maybe not completely free.
And those urges and so on were left.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, because I still think that we can eat meat. So
I think that people can eat meat.
According to Santos, if I eat meat, then it's going to destroy my prison.
Well, he says things about it, but I think people can eat meat. I haven't eaten meat for like a decade, but I don't see anything wrong with eating of meat.
If it's clean, as much as possible, you know, because they do poison our
I
food.
think all you got to do is justify it to yourself, haven't you? Like, you know, like you're your authority. But
so have you had success with the prison?
I had an experience that almost transcends like the psychedelic experience from a state of abstinence. I was about 5 or 6 days into a fast, and I was doing regular meditation practices, roughly an hour of 1 minute, 1 breath a minute meditations each day. So like 20 something minutes in the morning. I think it was around 24 minutes altogether, and then 24 in the evening before I went to sleep, and obviously abstinence from everything. And then like literally a full-on sensation of a cracking up here, and then a flooding of oil over me, and then a rising of like charge, and then like this like connection that created like orgasmic like sensation in every cell of my body. It's like I could feel it in my fingertips, my nails, and my hair. It's like my hair could feel this bliss, and it came on very, very strong, and it stayed, and I was there and it felt like I was going, and I was just like, whoa, this is incredible. And then I was like, this is becoming so blissful, so joyous, that it's a little bit like, hold on a second, what's going on here? You know, like
am I leaving?
It flipped, you know, and I was like, wait a second, like this bliss, this love is so overwhelming. And then my own voice went, that's all you need to see. And then it was went, and it turned off, and then I fell through the ground, like through many layers. And for some reason, when I've retold this story the following days and stuff, I was like 7 layers, like 7 layers into what was sort of empty, but it was black, and it was just me naked in fetal position like a child in a womb. And but I was watching myself, so there was the fetus in position, but then there was I watching me. You know, like it's the whole father and the son sort of thing. It was that sort of experience. Like we were, what did the Christians say? Distinct in identity, but one somehow. You know. And then when I was there, I was like, cool. Everything's all good. Like, I was in Mexico at the time, and you know they say, like mañana, tomorrow. I'm like, I'll worry about this the next time. And so I just completely let go in this state. Like there was no need for me to comprehend anything. It was perfectly safe. There was no bliss. There was no fear. There was just certainty, and the certainty was safe and peace. And then I woke up from there, and this sort of feeling of bliss was attainable through a little bit of concentration, a little bit of focus. And it still remains. Like, you know, like you say, once you know something, once you have a tangible experience of something, like you know what chocolate tastes like. Chocolate.
I can imagine.
Sort of thing. Like you know, like so there was like I had that feeling, and it's like that sort of remains. And then not long after that, there was a different sensation. There was like an opening of like solely this region, this physical or non-physical region, and it was like I thought I was like Iron Man or something. It was really strange. You know, like Iron Man, he goes poof, beams the light out. It was like that was sort of happening. I was like, and it was very, very strange, man. That one was very strange because I suffered a lot in that experience. But and then that suffering flipped. Instead of love flipping into like woo. It was immense, heavy suffering that flipped into a light feeling of liberation.
Did you think that was maybe like a releasing of something leaving you, or something dark maybe leaving you?
I'm not sure about anything that was leaving. I think it was more of an understanding and an acceptance, an acceptance of what is. What I am. Yeah, what is.
Because like I say to people, I think that God is light and dark, night and day, winter and summer. And I think that we are, as expressions of that, capable of night and day, light and dark.
Peaks of them both.
Yeah. And so we must, part of becoming the master of your own ship is to balance the light and the dark. Is to come into harmony between the light and the dark, the yin and the yang, the line between the yin and the yang, the balance point. And I think that's the attainment, if you like, is to see your light, see your dark, and then kind of return
you know
to
both ends.
harmony.
Yeah. This is polarity.
Yeah.
You know, like in Hermeticism, you ever done a little bit of Hermetic reading? Like the Kabbalion describes like polarity as one. It's the Holy Trinity, basically. It's, there's one thing, but that one thing actually has two parts, so therefore it is three. You know, but once you recognize it's not three, it's one, you can be at this part, and then I think the term might be alchemized to whichever part along you want to be at. You know? Like, so if you can recognize some state that you're in and know that that is just a sliding scale of the absolute state with certain practice, I believe, ability to hone your awareness, you can shift from that to where you'd rather be. But
that's really
obviously easier said than done, I believe.
Actually, a friend just sent me a PDF of the Kabbalion, which I've started reading. But I've listened to other scholars talk about the method texts and so on. But when on my journey to understanding the electromagnetic universe, I came across a scientist by the name of David LaPointe, not a flat earther. But he started doing some experiments in 2018 using two bowl-shaped magnets. Now, I think I saw Santos hook onto this idea
Ken Wheeler does it,
Ken Wheeler might do, but he does it with a ferrofluid, where he takes a neodymium magnet or whatever and ferrofluid, and you can show that this is more where you take two bowl-shaped magnets and you suspend them inside of a chamber and you fire 80,000 volts, or a huge amount of electricity into it. Now there has to be a third element, so you've got the electricity, the magnetism, and an ether, a gas. And once he gets that three together, he creates like an accretion disk between the two magnetic balls, and you can put balls that are going to take the flower of life shape, and they're rotating and all of this sort of stuff. And for me, that was why I was like, wow, that's the Trinity again. You know, you needed the electricity, the magnetism, and the ether to create that. You need the L, the father, the magnetism, the mother, to create the third, the child, the product. You know? So it's all this Trinity idea, but that we are all of it. We are both masculine and feminine. We are love, hate. We are, all of these states are within us.
We're the whole.
And we're meant to kind of. I was going to say to people, maybe heard me say it, but I think that the seeds in the center of the apple are the only solid part of the apple. Yeah, the other bits are all water. The seed itself is like the rocks that we see on the earth. And so we're at the core of the electromagnetic world, and those continents are the seeds, and the seas are where the kind of new life comes from. The water, they tell us in ancient science, is that the seas come where the life comes from.
The apple's a Taurus as well, isn't it?
Apple is a Taurus, and it has a north pole where it's connected to the tree, and a south pole which is the butt of the apple. And if you cut it from top to bottom, and then let it fall open on the table, then you've got a north pole here and a south pole at the bottom, and then in the middle is your core, and then there's an ice wall of apple peel or skin around the side. The fruit is all water. Obviously we've got light water here that we can breathe in, and heavy water that we can't breathe in beneath us. But the fruit itself is just full of water. And then the hard parts are the seeds. The seeds are where new life comes from. That's where new life comes from. And we are, all of us, that same micro of the macro, in my estimation.
I don't.
But I could go on. But I do want to try and have a few more conversations.
Instead of preaching to the choir.
But I want to hope. Please email me.
Dave. I will. Got your.
Santos was one time subscribed to my channel. a long time ago, but I lost that channel and we never found
I've got
him.
his contact. Every now and then I flick him a little thing just to see if he's all right.
Okay.
But, yeah, man, we could.
It's good to hear about him anyway.
If you are like you've got a channel and stuff now, like I probably do. If you wanted to, I probably do have the means to get you to online together or something. You know, like if that's.
Yeah, well, he's actually friends with a friend of mine who's watching at the moment called Sun and Moon Family.
Okay.
A lady called Karen Petit. She has had him on quite a few times.
Yeah,
but,
so you've got a link.
Yeah, but I mean, I care about Santo. I think he's a great teacher, you know. But obviously, what we saw with the Daniel thing is he's also, like all of us, carrying trauma.
Yeah.
There's a trauma from his childhood that was being expressed there. That a guy could weep over a guy like Daniel, who was clearly like, deceiver.
His father died while I was out there. There was a lot of trauma surrounding that, and the way he treats women. There's a lot to, you know. I can't remember how old he is. He's in his 60s, I think.
Santos is 5 years older than me. I've always been aware of that.
Yeah. So he
62. That would make him.
He had his second Saturn return when I was out there.
Right. Yeah, that'd be about right.
Yeah. And,
so maybe it was that.
So there's a lot going on with him.
Yeah.
And I've seen him get his car fixed. We just done a treatment because I'm a massager, we do meditation. I was helping him relax. So we just done a treatment, and his mechanic drops his car off, and he goes out and he's like, "You fucking didn't paint the bonnet!" Starts slamming his fists on the bonnet. Wow. I'm just like, man, Santos, man, like, calm down. He goes, "Oh, this fucking imbecile. He's a fucking idiot." Like,
Has he done ayahuasca?
No. He gave me a bunch of mushrooms. I told him, Mr. Santos, let's go, because we had a Temescal.
Yeah.
You know, like a Temescal, a sweat lodge.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Santos, me and you, let's go and sit in there, like this coming Sunday, and let's take these plants. And he went, nah. I was like, Santos, the whole world's out to get you, aren't they? He's like, yeah, the 5G, the drones, all these things, they're getting into my electromagnetic. I said, let's have a reset, Santos, in the Temescal with 5 grams of mushrooms. He was like, no. Daniel was talking him out of it. Daniel was keeping him away from those sort of substances. You know?
I think that would be helpful for him.
Yeah, I know.
Because he needs, as I say, I think he's a genius, and I think he's a great teacher.
Yeah,
However, he also needs like a bit of a reset.
Yeah.
Because there's elements of him that are well out of whack, out of kilter, in my opinion. Now, I'd find it hard to say that to his face, but that's my truth.
But he knows, but he thinks it's not him. He thinks it's an external force that is causing that. Yeah. Which is mad considering all of his teachings.
Yeah.
It's like you need to put in front of his own presentation. Hey, Santos, have you seen this? You know, like
this is great teacher called Santos Bernardi. He'll teach you shit that you need to know, Santos.
Yeah.
Dude.
But cool, mate. Cool.
I'll see you again, Sam. We'll be in touch. What a fantastic conversation. I hope you've enjoyed that, my friends. And wasn't too close to the